Hello, everybody. This is Carl. Welcome to Carl's Opinion. It's our Friday night, late night call-in show, and I want to welcome everybody aboard and all our new viewers. Welcome. Hey, we're doing a live call-in show, live video call-in show, and a lot of news to get to tonight. You see the headline I have up there: the Department of Justice is pursuing transcripts of George Papadopoulos tapes and review of Russia investigation origins. We talked about this in pretty extensive detail on June 18th. And as well, 2 nights ago, we replayed some of the June 18th video, as well as discussed some of the other issues that came out of that, as far as after the Mueller hearing as well. And a big question was, when we on June 18th, and we again discussed it 2 nights ago, Wednesday night, talking about when they were meeting with Papadopoulos, any kind of clandestine operation like this is going to be on tape. It's going to be minimum audio tape, and we know the FBI had sent somebody over to meet with Papadopoulos when he met with Stefan Halper, someone, FBI agent pretending to be Halper's assistant slash girlfriend slash whatever. Supposed to be a pretty hot-looking babe, they said. That's what Papadopoulos said. She was, there to kind of, I guess, entice him to saying something stupid, and a lot of drinks were flowing, et cetera, et cetera. And there were other agents in the area also videotaping and recording the interaction as well. So those tapes exist. They didn't burn them. They're in records, and part of what Trump was wanting to do is to declassify them. Now he was getting pushback by Dan Coates, the person who replaced James Clapper as head of the Office of Director of National Intelligence. And Coates was giving him some pushback, and that's why you see Coates maybe going out the door. And there's a rumor going around that possibly Devin Nunes may be the new Director of National Intelligence. I don't know if that's true or not. Well, we'll see. But we know Trump wants to give it to Coates because Coates is an old establishment guy. He's going to protect, the old deep state people himself because he's probably part of the deep state. So, he's nobody you want around. He was giving Barr a hard time about releasing some of the information to the Attorney General, as if Barr was some kind of, traitor or something like that, that he couldn't be trusted with this information. And of course, Barr is handing this over to Durham for Durham to do his investigation. And Durham looks like he's proceeding forward pretty quick. The Inspector General is also looks like some kind of a timeline they're trying to put in place, saying look like after Labor Day, the Inspector General will be done with his report. His report got delayed because he wanted to meet with Steele, which he did in fact get to do. His people got to meet with and interview Christopher Steele in London. We know Durham's guys also got the interview. It might have been at the same time. I'm not sure. But, they wanted to know what was going on with this guy. Steele, at some point, I think, wanted to actually do the interview because he was afraid he was getting thrown under the bus. He's afraid he was going to be the scapegoat for everybody. He's like, hey, whoa, I got hired to go find some stuff, and, I found some stuff, and I gave it to him, and, he's probably saying, well, I didn't tell him it was true. I didn't tell him I verified it. I didn't tell him any of that. And he's probably going to say, well, they didn't seem to care. They just wanted something that sounded salacious and obnoxious, and they were more than happy to get their hands on it. And that's his story, and I'm sure he's sticking to it. So there you go. Let me turn this up a little bit here. There we go. Might be a little bit low on the volume going out, so just going to get that turned up. See how that's going there. Let's see. And we'll take a look here, how it sounds. Let's see how this sounds here. Yeah, it seems like it sounds pretty good now, so it looks like we'll be going good going up. That should be, yep, that looks like a little bit better right there, so should be okay. All right, so let's go and get to it. Let's get to our first story, and let's see. There we go. So, Department of Justice pursuing transcripts of George Papadopoulos tapes and review of Russia investigation origins by Daniel Chaitin and Jerry Dunleavy of the Washington Examiner, just out today, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, 6 o'clock our time. Justice Department is intent on reviewing transcripts of recordings that at least one government informant made of conversations with former Trump campaign associate George Papadopoulos. Little is known about these classified transcripts, including who is the source, other than the growing hype about them in conservative circles. Former Representative Trey Gowdy called them a game changer in a Fox News interview in May. but progress is being made to peel back the mystery, according to a Fox News report, as Attorney General William Barr and U.S. Attorney John Durham's investigation into the origins of Russia investigation and possible misconduct by DOJ and FBI officials ramps up. So yeah, so basically Barr is hired Durham. If you remember, Sessions hired some U.S. attorney out of Utah, and that guy was kind of sitting on his hands, not really doing much, probably an establishment guy himself. Barr gets in there. He says, "Okay, find me the biggest asshole we have in the U.S. Attorney's office." They said, "Oh, everybody kind of agreed. Oh, that's Durham over there in Connecticut. Grab that guy." He's investigated the CIA before for both Republican and Democratic administrations. He has no friends. Nobody likes him. He doesn't like anybody anyway. And he's just one of those asshole kind of prosecutors, attorneys, trial attorneys that just goes after everybody to get his hands on. So it looks like it'll be a good fit for him. Let's see what we got here. All right, pull this up. All right, so let's see here. All right. Let's see. Back it up a little bit. Ramps up. Here we go. A key element to their disclosure may be President Trump granting Barr full and complete authority to declassify information in the Justice Department inquiry. Trump expressed confidence in Barr during a Fox News interview Thursday evening, reiterating Barr's power to uncover and release information related to the inquiry. Anything he needs, he's got it, Trump said. Barr tasked Durham, who hails from Connecticut, with leading the inquiry in the spring. Investigators looking at why certain exculpatory material from these transcripts was not presented in subsequent applications for surveillance warrants against another Trump campaign aide, Carter Page. I think it's a smoking. Well, I hate when somebody says it's a smoking gun. There ain't no smoking gun. That's a TV show. Okay, those are TV shows. Those are lawyer movies. And those are things like this smoking gun. Like, oh, I have the magic evidence. Like, where the you get it from the evidence fairy? It's like the magic evidence just showed up. It doesn't happen that way. Without Trump's declassification order, one source said, Director of National Intelligence Dan Coats would not have allowed anyone to have access to these mysterious records. But another source stressed that Coats, as well as FBI Director Christopher Wray and CIA Director Gina Haspel, are cooperating with DOJ's investigation. Papadopoulos was swept up in Robert Mueller's special counsel investigation under suspicion of trying to make inroads with the Russians. His interactions with mysterious Maltese academic Joseph Mifsud allegedly led to the FBI opening a counterintelligence inquiry into the Trump campaign in July 2016, which predated Mueller's appointment. Exactly. Papadopoulos pled guilty on October 17th to making false statements to the FBI about his contacts with Mifsud and served just 12 days in federal prison late last year. He is now on supervised release. Mueller's report said that, now, my opinion, I think Trump ought to, I think once this information comes out, I think that's what Trump's waiting for. Once the information comes out about these meetings and they actually see the transcripts of these meetings and maybe the actual audio and or videotape of these meetings, I think that's going to be enough for Trump to go ahead and give full pardon to Papadopoulos, saying, hey, man, you got mixed up in all this. I mean, he had just got on the campaign when he started getting approached by everybody. You remember Mifsud approached him and said, hey, I'm with the Russians, and we got the 33,000 Hillary Clinton emails that we hacked. You want to buy them for your campaign. And if you think about it, it's kind of strange in a way. I'll tell you why, because, this is April of 2016. The campaign's still in full gear. Steele had already been putting this stuff together. And, Trump hadn't even got the nomination yet. That still wasn't certain for sure. And they're asking him, do you want some crap on Hillary Clinton? Maybe after the convention, coming to him with that, maybe that would make more sense. But, coming to him at that early stage, it just seemed kind of crazy. Papadopoulos thought he was crazy when he talked to Downer when he was drunk. Supposedly, allegedly he said that he told allegedly told Downer about these Hillary Clinton hacked emails, and that's what Downer used to run to the FBI for them to start their counterintel investigation in July 31st of 2016. But Papadopoulos not even sure he even said it. But assuming he did, the whole thing was set up. Mifsud was told to tell Papadopoulos this, so when he talked to Downer, he could tell him that, and then therefore Downer could run to the FBI, and the FBI would be all surprised. Oh my God, we really? Now we have to do a counterintel investigation. Mueller's report said that during a 2016 meeting in London, Mifsud informed Papadopoulos that he learned that the Russians had dirt on Hillary Clinton, Trump's presidential rival, in the form of thousands. Let me double check something here. Okay. You know, there we go. All right, so there we go. Mueller's report said that during a 2016 meeting in London, Mifsud informed Papadopoulos that he learned that the Russians had dirt on Hillary Clinton, Trump's presidential rival, in the form of thousands of emails. Papadopoulos later repeated this claim to Australian diplomat Alexander Downer, who informed the U.S. government and the FBI who informed the U.S. government and the FBI says this prompted the original counterintelligence investigation into Trump's campaign. Mifsud has denied that he told Papadopoulos the Russians had Clinton's emails. Well, I don't believe that. Hey, Shonda, how you doing there, young lady? Papadopoulos also said that he told the Greek foreign minister that the Russians had damaging information about Clinton. During his testimony before the House Judiciary Intelligence Committee on Wednesday, Mueller repeatedly shot down GOP attempts to get him to discuss the early stages of the counterintel investigation that preceded his May 2017 appointment as special counsel, including why Mifsud was never charged for lying. A report published by The Hill on the eve of Mueller's testimony this week said Durham's investigators had reached out to Mifsud's attorney to set up an interview with Mifsud, who had laid low for the past couple of years. Democratic National Committee lawyers said last year Mifsud may even be dead. I remember that story. They were trying to say, oh, we think he's dead. It was like, well, no, of course they want to say he's dead. They don't want him interviewed. The transcripts that are now a focus of Durham's inquiry may come from conversations Papadopoulos had with Stefan Halper, an American professor at Cambridge University who was believed to be an FBI informant, and a woman who posed as his assistant and called herself Azra Turk. If you remember correctly, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Jim Jordan brought that up on Wednesday's hearing. He was talking about that. And according to Papadopoulos, she kind of let be known that she was kind of hot and doing great here. How are you doing? Oh, doing good. Sean, I'm actually pretty happy it's Friday, to be honest with you. It was a long week. And the weather here was miserable. In southern Nevada, we get a dry heat. And that's bad enough, but you get acclimated to the dry heat. It even gets to 110. You live with it. It's the same thing every year. But then we also got this humidity that rolls in here as well. We got some little drizzles, some fake rain, and then it just made the whole place really, really awful. It's like we had the worst of both worlds, if you will. But during one of Papadopoulos' meetings with Halper in September 2016, the woman identified as Turk asked him point blank if Trump's campaign was working with the Russians to get hacked emails. Papadopoulos discusses women in his book, Deep State Target. He doubted she was being forthcoming about her identity. The FBI has cited Papadopoulos' telling Downer about the Russians having dirt on Clinton as a reason the Bureau officially began the Trump-Russia investigation known as Crossfire Hurricane on July 31st, 2016. But a source said another element of the DOJ, let me jump over here real quick. Okay. But let's see, here we go. No, okay, but a source said another element of the DOJ investigation is to determine the actual start date of the investigation. As Republican lawmakers such as Devin Nunes say it may have started earlier. Oh, I think it started way earlier. I mean, again, Mifsud wasn't working on his own. Downer wasn't working on his own. They didn't just happen to run into this brand new foreign services guy working for the Trump campaign. This wasn't all accidental. So let's see here. And new timeline emerges for DOJ Inspector General report. Let me drop this down a little bit. It seems kind of big there. It might be a little bit easier to read there. There we go. New timeline emerges for DOJ Inspector General report on FISA abuse. Now, this is the Inspector General, if you remember correctly. He's the one, he was actually an Obama appointee, go figure, and he's the one who's been making referrals regarding McCabe and everybody else for lying, the whole 10 yards. And his report is to say, okay, he's looking to see exactly how did this whole thing get started? Where did this come from? In other words, when you look at the events on where we are now, 3 years later from the time the FBI began their counterintelligence investigation, July 31st, and then say April when Mifsud started talking to him, then go back to February when the FBI admonished, gave it like talking to a confidential informant, given his rules and responsibilities and what he's supposed to do and not do. That's just that's February 3rd. February 3rd till now, it's like everybody's like, okay, how did this thing really start? Because we know it didn't start July 31st. We know it didn't start when Downer walked into the FBI office and said, hey man, this guy told me about some Hillary Clinton emails. All this was being put together way before then. And the big issue is, again, the FISA court judge found 5,000 FISA court applications and warrants that were issued from 2012 till 2016 were illegal. That means 2012. You're talking Mitt Romney, you're talking Paul Ryan, talking Justice Scalia, talking Justice Roberts. You're talking primarily the Romney campaign when Obama looked really too smart at those debates. And, Stefan Halper, the guy who stole Jimmy Carter's debate preparation materials for Ronald Reagan back in 1980, known as DebateGate, that came out in 1983. Halper was working on this case. The idea that they're just spying on Trump, I don't believe that. I think they were spying on all the major candidates, probably spying on Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, Scott Walker. Anybody looked like they had a shot to win. They were spying on their campaigns, see what their campaigns were doing, their strategies, and using these FISA 702 warrants without even going to a FISA court judge, to hook them in. And basically all it takes is you can just, get a FISA 702, FBI director has to sign off on it, Jim Clapper has to sign off on it, Comey, Clapper, they sign off on it for a foreign guy. If somebody on the phone they're looking at mentions this foreign guy's name, then they can hook them in and then go 3-4 levels up from that guy, and without even having to go to a FISA court judge. And the only reason why they went to the FISA court judge on Carter Page was so that they'd have an excuse as to why they looked at all these other people. Hey, the great dirtbag, how you doing there? Good seeing you there in the chat room. But that's the only reason why they did that. So now the Inspector General looks like his report's going to be coming out in September. Everybody's saying after Labor Day. His people actually got to interview Christopher Steele in London, and they're working on, and of course Durham's working on trying to interview Mifsud himself to find out what he knows. I'm sure it's going to be kind of hard to do, although he's in Italy, and the Italian Prime Minister's trying to make friends with President Trump after it was discovered that Mifsud worked for Italian intelligence. Now, the Italian Prime Minister, for his part, did in fact fire his 2 top intelligence chiefs after he found out that Italian intelligence was being used by the CIA, John Brennan, Clapper, Comey, to spy on an American president nominee for the Republican Party, to wit Donald Trump. He fired the 2 top guys, for just boom, gone. And so whether he makes Mifsud available or not, I don't know. Mifsud's one of those guys that, he knows all the dirt on everybody. So if he says no, it might be one of those things where, like, J. Edgar Hoover thing, like, you don't want to piss him off. He's got dirt on everybody, and nobody's ever 100% clean. That's the problem. So let's see what this story goes on to say here. And this is from, again, the Washington Examiner. Okay. A new timeline has emerged in recent days for the Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz's investigation into alleged surveillance abuses by the DOJ and the FBI. Whereas Attorney General William Barr predicted earlier this year that the watchdog's investigation would be finished by May or early June, now lawmakers are pointing to the early fall. Doug Collins, top Republican in the House Judiciary Committee, told Maria Bartiromo on Fox News Sunday Morning Futures that he expects to report later this fall. His colleague John Ratcliffe, who has spoken to Horowitz, gave a more specific target. The Texas congressman told Fox News, Brent Baer, on Wednesday, I think we will get the IG's report probably sometime right after Labor Day, September 2nd, which is actually pretty nice because generally Labor Day 2016 is it used to be, back in the day, the real official kickoff for the election. Obviously, you've seen we're going to have our 3rd debate now here in July coming up pretty quick. Our 2nd debate, I'm sorry, and everybody's been campaigning pretty hot and heavy already, but still, Labor Day is when everybody starts, general public really starts paying attention. So it'll be good with that report coming out right then and there. Carl, let me know when you want me to call in. Oh, yeah, Dirtbag, you can call in anytime you want. I got stories I'm covering, but hey, no big deal. Just call in anytime you want there, Mr. Dirtbag. Yeah, the phone is on. The phone is on. So you're good to go. But yeah, just anytime. But anyway, so further solidifying the prediction was a real clear investigations report about former FBI Director James Comey having an inside man at the White House, feeding the Bureau information about President Trump and his aides in 2017. The report also set a release date sometime in September. Yeah, that was a great story. We covered that last week. And he had what was the guy's name? Mate or something like that. I can't remember. And he was actually what Comey did. He made him like a reserve officer to the FBI. So even though he was assigned to the White House, he was still a reserve officer. So he still checked in with Comey. Basically, he was a spy. I mean, he was sent to the White House to spy on the White House, which violated every FBI regulation known to man. And he was reporting directly back to Comey. So yeah, just real crazy, you know. But let's see. So that came out. So the idea that everybody was saying, well, he shouldn't have fired Comey. Well, if Comey's putting active spies inside the White House, that's not somebody you want running around, having that power to be able to do that. And it was shortly after Comey got fired that this guy kind of vanished. They got rid of him. They realized, oh, well, who the hell is this guy, and why is he still running around here? So the delay in Horowitz' work was reportedly due to his team's 2-day meeting with Steele in person in London in early June, dating during President Trump's state visit to the United Kingdom. Investigators found Steele's information credible enough. Phone call coming in. Hey, the great dirtbag, how you doing?
Hey, Carl, what's up? Long time. How you been?
Doing good, doing good.
Good. Oh, a lot of crazy stuff happening, and it's only going to get even crazier when 2020 approaches.
Oh yeah,
man.
without a doubt.
Without a doubt. I'll tell you what. You know what's going to be interesting? I'm not going to be surprised at what gets released when they declassify when they declassify all those documents, right? But what I'm going to be interested to see if this wakes anybody up on the left. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
right.
Who knows? It might not. You know what I mean? But it's almost getting to the point where we are in the twilight zone. It's like we're living in the twilight zone now. I mean, who would have thought that nowadays people would it's like it's like everything is oppressive. Like now it's, what was it? Who was it? There was, the Adkins bar, right? Where I guess there was like, Lucas was covering it, Amazing Lucas. But I guess, some SJWs got triggered over a Adkins bar or something that was right next to some clothes or something, was it? Did you happen to see that story?
No, I sure didn't. What was it? What was an action star?
No, an Adkins bar.
Atkins.
Some kind of a. Let me see if I can. Yeah.
You mean like diet bar?
Was,
Atkins bar? It was like a diet bar.
Yeah, the Adkins.
Yeah, like a diet bar was next to what, and it triggered. I did not hear about this story. I didn't know anything about it. It sounds kind of weird, but yeah, what's that about?
Well, apparently, I guess it made some people upset. I'm trying to find it now, but I guess it made some people upset or something, and they said it was like something about fat shaming. And I'm trying to see if I can pull up the story now.
Wow, fat shaming. Well, it's not healthy to be fat. That's not healthy. I mean, at least.
No.
I mean, forget how it looks. I mean, it leads to diabetes, leads to heart disease. I mean, it puts too much pressure on your heart. You get high blood pressure. Your body's trying to push all that blood through all that extra weight. I mean, there's nothing healthy about it. I mean, it's not bad to fat shame people to say, hey, you need to lose some weight. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, disabled vet, how you doing there?
No, I mean it's like they're caught in their identity politics with all this. They're trying to demonize anything that resembles anything that they can use, anything that they can stick. It's like they're throwing labels out there. It's like what the white dog is supposed to be a sign of oppression now, or a symbol of oppression.
Well, what's supposed to be a symbol of oppression? The light what?
Like a white dog. So there was
a
story about like my laptop is acting up. I'm sorry.
No, a white dog now is a symbol of oppression. I thought I could, maybe like a German Shepherd might be. I don't know, but a white one. I mean, white dogs are generally pretty goofy. I don't know, but I mean, that's oppressive now. I don't know. These people need to really grow up. I mean, these are not tough people. I mean, if they ever end up in a bad situation like a full-on recession again, and they can't run home to mommy, they're gonna have to try to figure out how to make moves and pivot. They're gonna be too much in a shell, too paralyzed to be able to get anything done. I mean, when that recession hit,
Yeah.
recession hit, you know, I knew a lot of other people
Mm-hmm.
like myself that, you know, we had to make moves fast, and we did. You know, I could have curled up into a ball and
Yeah.
like gone, oh no, what do I do? I mean, 5 attorneys closed their offices down up in my little town of 37,000 people, and we didn't have that many attorneys to begin with, and
Mm-hmm.
5 shut down. I kept two employees. I kept 2 employees on full time through the whole recession, because I didn't curl up into a ball. I said,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you know, this part of my business is like gone to the toilet because of the recession. I got to pivot and start doing other things, and
Mm-hmm.
I did, quick. And I didn't sit
Yeah.
around, you know, waiting around for the government to help me out either. I started making moves, and the
Mm-hmm.
people who did got through
Yeah.
the recession and actually did quite well, and the people who didn't. But I mean, these kids. I mean, we go through another depression or any kind of a war or anything, or where they have to take, you know,
Mm-hmm.
ration things or something. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they're not going to be able to handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like going back to like you know like in back in the 1930s, right? I
Oh
mean,
wait, hold
people.
on,
I mean,
hold
the
on,
depression.
dirtbag,
Nobody saw this.
dirtbag. Hold on.
Uh-huh.
Disabled vet says, hey.
Oh, hey, what's up, Bud? How you doing? Sorry, I didn't see him in the. Sorry
That's
about
okay.
that. Hey, disabled Bud, what's up? But it's like you know, I remember when the well, whatever they call it, the Great Recession, the you know, back in 2008, they're calling, you know, they have so many different names for it, but you know, when the economy went south back in 2008, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember I got laid off, but I was able to, you know, I got lucky that I was able to get back to work, you know, shortly after. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
And I'm
no,
like,
that
look,
probably
I'm
wasn't
taking
luck.
this.
No, that probably
You know?
wasn't luck. That was you
Mhm.
making some moves. You know, we all had to change what we were
Yeah.
doing and stuff, and you know, you had to make moves. I mean, I don't think that was luck. I think it's just the kind of guy you are. I mean, I know people who
Yeah.
didn't get back to work. I know people, again, I know attorneys who closed their offices down. I know attorneys had to sell their business and go
Yeah.
to work for somebody else for a hell of a lot less pay. I mean, but you know, the guys who made moves and you know took other jobs, maybe took a job for less, maybe took a job that wasn't as good as the one you had.
Hmm.
Who cares? You know, you had money coming in.
Yeah.
That's the important thing.
Yeah. Mhm. And sometimes you got to take the job you don't want. You know, I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, um, you know, like the mindset of a lot of this younger generation and these liberals. And I know I say this all the time. You know, they're entitled. They feel entitled. Not all of them. Not all of them. You know, but they've taken like where, you know, it's like, you know, oh, well, we don't want anybody to feel bad, so let's give this person an award, you know, for participation. Or they make up some kind of yeah, and I'm like, I knew a guy years ago in a job that I had, right? I mean, he was slow, but, you know, he was willing to help out. He was willing to pitch in, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And even though there wasn't much he could do, there were certain things that we could position him to do that we would not have to worry about. You know what I'm saying? And he
Right.
pulled his weight just in the things that he did. He was willing to, you know, but you know, even though maybe it was not as much work, but you know, he was still you know, but he wasn't physically capable of doing it, right? You know, the heavy lifting and all that. But you know,
Right.
the stuff that he was willing to help out, he did. You know, and you know, to me, that constitutes an award right there. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, like like a true participation type of award. You know, but you know, you have these people. It's like you know, just to switch gears there, but I'll tie this into what I was talking about, right? Like, you know, Bernie Sanders came under fire for not paying his union or his staff a $15 living wage. Now, here's the funny thing, right? He's probably got a lot of millennials working with him. You know, I mean, I
Oh
could be
yeah.
wrong. I'm just saying. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
You
You're
know,
right. I'm sure.
and who knows? Now, I'm not going to say that every single one of those millennials that works for Bernie is lazy. I'm not saying that. It's just, but if they all had the mindset of, well, we should be paid $15 an hour. See, Bernie Sanders had already, you know, he was like, it's like, he's never, from what I understand, he's never had a business. He's never had to manage a payroll. And it's kind of like that old conservatives, or like, who was it that put it? You know, a liberal managing a payroll, you know, because they have to pay the people. They have to, you know, they're going to see like firsthand, hey, look, you know, this isn't as easy as I thought. And, you know, this isn't, you know, how can you pay people when you have government dictating what you're supposed to be doing with your organization. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're not
Right.
free to do what you need to do with your organization, you're not going to get the job done. But
Yeah.
anyway, how this has to do with what I'm saying is that, you know, these millennials are, you know, some of these people are probably, you know, first time, you know, job. Maybe this was a side job that they had, you know, and, you know, if they agreed to work for what they were paid to do, you know, again, and then them wanting that $15 minimum wage, that's like, you know, that's entitlement. It's like, you know, but
Well,
see,
what it
Bernie
was,
Sanders ought to be
well,
preaching what he's.
what it was is
Mm-hmm,
he was paying him like a salary, right? And so a lot of these
mm-hmm,
guys were ending up working like 50, 60 hours a week, and he was paying them like on a
mm-hmm,
40-hour a week salary, $15 an hour, but it's a salary. And
yeah,
they were saying, hey, look, we
uh-huh,
want to get paid for the actual hours we're putting in, which means like they sure shit didn't
mm-hmm,
sound very dedicated. I mean, look, they know it's not his own money. They know it's like contributions coming in and
mm-hmm,
donations, and you know they have to spread that money around,
mm-hmm,
not just for staff, but for commercials, advertising, you know, plane trips, you
mm-hmm,
know, moving people to different locations, renting venues out. And these people sure shit didn't sound very
mm-hmm,
dedicated because, you know, they should have been happy with they should have been happy with just a 40-hour a week salary. And if they put in extra hours, well, they put in extra hours. I mean, you know, they want this guy to win or not. I mean, do they just looking for a job?
yeah,
You know, in the meantime, that's
mm-hmm,
I'll tell you right now, that's a pretty shitty sounding staff. You know, but
yeah,
but I agree with you. If he's going to say we should pay everybody $15 an hour, then so be it. Well, it's funny though. Then he goes, well, we'll just cut back on the hours. Well, that's what everybody argues.
mm-hmm,
That's a big argument against a minimum wage. Is that if you make people pay a minimum wage, then they're going to cut back on hours or cut back on the number of employees. And even the CBP
mm-hmm,
came out and said, yeah, if that happens, you're looking at 1.3 to 3.7 million jobs lost, and people's hours
mm-hmm,
being cut because you know employers or prices going so high that it's going to be a net negative 0.1% of increased money that you can spend out of your own pocket because everybody else's wages are going up too, right? I mean, like
yeah,
if you work at a
yeah,
restaurant and you're getting paid $15 an hour now, it's like, yay, I'm working at a restaurant getting paid $15 an hour. I have more spending money, more spending power. But then you go to the grocery
mm-hmm,
store to buy your groceries. Well, guess what? Everybody over there is making
mm-hmm,
$15 an hour. The stockers, the checkers, everybody. So now they have to raise their prices.
mm-hmm,
So at the end of the day, they said by the time this thing goes into a full effect in 2025, it's a negative
mm-hmm,
0.1% downward. So it doesn't even stay even. It goes down just
yeah,
a little bit as far as your purchasing power. So you get no more
yeah,
purchasing power. You feel good for a few minutes, and then people on the very bottom get a raise. But you shouldn't take a job that you're going to stay on the bottom with. I mean, the whole point is to work really hard,
uh-huh,
work your way up in the company. You know, you can work your way up from McDonald's. You can work. I give the story of this guy at the grocery store I shop at. You know, he was the guy behind the
mm-hmm,
meat counter, but he was like a real go getter. You know, everybody else was kind of like, you know, kind of going through the motions. You know,
mm-hmm,
this kid used to run around like a maniac, and he was really good with the customers. He'd come out from behind the counter and help, but he never got behind on his own work. If he needed a piece of meat cut, even on a Saturday, you know, even after he got done cleaning, he go, you know, I'll cut it, and I'll be like, hey man, you just got done cleaning that. He goes, oh, screw it, I'll clean it again.
mm-hmm,
And so everybody noticed that, including the management, and of course all the customers. I know I did. I went and talked to the store director. I said, hey, you got a kid back there who's kicking ass. And then it's funny as I was telling him, he goes, yeah, I
mm-hmm,
know. And then sure enough, then one day he's not there anymore. He's gone. I'm like, oh man, did he get fired? I didn't know what happened. Well, he comes back a year and a half later. I
mm-hmm,
go, shit, man, how you been? You know, and he goes, oh, I'm doing great. He goes, I'm in charge of this department now. And I said, how the hell did that happen? He goes, well, I got all these. They liked what I was doing, so they sent me to their in-house management school, and I got paid to go to their school. So they sent him down to Vegas or
oh
wherever.
wow,
Yeah, they sent him to management school because
mm-hmm,
they said this kid's going somewhere. He's a real hustler. He's really motivated. Sent him to management school. They taught him
yeah,
how to be a manager and how to manage people. And was there for like a year and a half. They paid him the whole time, and then when they got done, they said, okay, now we're going to put you in charge of the meat department in the store you were working at in Pahrump. And he came back and he ran the meat
mm-hmm.
department. But I mean, that's what you do. I mean,
Wow,
but I mean,
mm-hmm,
he would do extra stuff. I guarantee you, he never told his boss, hey, I worked an extra hour because I had to cut somebody a roast and I had to go back and clean the machines again. Would you ever see those guys clean the machines behind the meat department? You know, the big band saws and stuff.
yeah,
That's
mm-hmm,
not easy.
yeah,
That's not quick. I mean, it's a big
no,
mess. You
mm-hmm,
know, they're back there with the sprayers and all
yeah,
that shit. Yeah, and they got to make sure everything's
yeah,
all sanitary. So I mean, I guarantee you, and I know I wasn't the only one he did that for because everybody else I talked to said, "Oh, I love that kid. You know, I love when that kid's there." You know, you call up,
mm-hmm,
"Hey, I need this.
yeah,
I need a 3-bone, 4-bone roast." can you cut one up for me? I'll be down. He goes, yeah, I'll cut it right now. Like before you even showed up, he'd cut it, have it ready to go. You get there, it's like, here you go, boom, walk out the door. You know. So
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
you don't go to work at McDonald's, work at the front counter forever. You know.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. See, that's something I try to teach to my goddaughter. That she's a hard worker, but she doesn't. She's just, she's kind of at that age where she thinks life owes her something, and I'm like trying to get her to snap out of it real quick because, she has to understand that, in when she goes, if she does decide to go to college, the sooner she gets through college, the better, or a trade school, because you have, because they say by, what is it, I think it's like 20, well, the next generation, not the millennial generation, but the next, well, even the millennial generation, um, most of them that speak 2 or 3 languages are the ones that are going to have a better chance of getting a job than the ones who just speak one language, and that's a statistic that's being proven all over the world. It seems like the more languages you know, the more, but I don't know how fluent they expect you to be. But if you can at least communicate and are able to write in that language, But it's funny because I had an interesting conversation with a progressive today, and this guy was asking me about, we were talking about the same things, like capitalism versus socialism, things like that, but what's interesting was he came to me and he told me how how it was strange how Bernie wasn't paying his staff $15 an hour, but then he showed me a story where Bernie had came to a deal. Now, I can see that he's starting to maybe see a little bit, but I'm not going to shove the truth in his face. He said like, well, maybe Bernie saw the error of his way and decide, even though I know that's a lie, that's a lie, but I'm like saying, yeah, it's possible Bernie could have seen the error of his way. Even though I'm not going to sit here and say that Bernie knew what he was doing, but you have to kind of give, you have to just let the truth sink in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you get through to people. At least center left, as I always say. But it's interesting because I was asking him, are you prepared to learn another language if we ever have an open borders policy where people can just come in and out of the country? And he goes, well, why would I have to learn another language? English is the language of this country. And I tell him, well, if you have to adapt to someone else, to accommodate somebody else because they don't like the fact that you can't communicate with them. And then he's like, and this is the same person that I'm speaking to, right? He's like, well, they should adapt and learn our ways. And see, he's basically spewing right-wing talking points. Well, as he would say, right-wing talking points.
Right.
I mean, I can't go to. I speak Spanish, but I guarantee you, my Spanish ain't good enough to get me around to Mexico or Cuba.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
no, I
in
was.
fact, they wouldn't.
Yeah, I was talking about that to a friend of mine today. I said, look, if I decided to like move to Mexico and Mexico gave me permission to move there, permanently as a resident, to live there, maybe even get a citizenship, I don't know, whatever. I said, man, I do damn well bet I would learn that language backwards, forwards, and I wouldn't learn it with an American accent either. I would learn how to speak Spanish with a Mexican accent. If I went to Venezuela, I'd learn how to speak it with a Venezuelan accent. I would bust my ass. I'd be like, hey, you guys are nice enough to let me come down here and live here, and make money here, and do commerce here, and live here and be safe. And you were nice enough to let me in. I'm gonna learn your culture. Two, when I do business, I'm gonna learn how you guys actually do business. And I'm not going to do it the American way. I'm going to do it your way. I'm not going to try to impose. I am American. You got to do it the way I say. That's it. No, I'm going to try to do it your way. And so anybody who comes to here and where they get into our country, I think they should do the same thing.
Yep. Oh yeah. I was watching a thing on the rebel media, and they were interviewing liberals, progressives, people. They were just literally, kind of like how Mark Dice does, and they were basically, they literally had I think he was Middle Eastern descent or something, but he didn't speak English, and they were literally asking people, would you take this guy into your home he needs a place to stay. And these progressives are like, no, because I don't know them. I don't know who he is. He could be a criminal for all. And they used another word, but because of the algorithms, I say criminal. Um, and they're like, the people doing the interviews are like, they're looking at the camera, and you can tell on their face that they're saying typical. Typical because they can't put two and two together. They can't put the fact that, they say, well, we're not going to accept these people in our house because we don't know them, but yet they can't apply that logic to massive migration. They just can't. And again, it's all based on their emotions, their feelings. I mean, I guarantee you, the left, we all know the left is going to show up in droves, but they're going to be showing up in droves out of emotion, not because of, they feel like they're part of la resistance, and it's not because, not necessarily because of they want the free stuff. I mean, yeah, we all know that they want, everybody wants free stuff, you know what I'm saying, on that
Right.
side. They don't care how it gets paid for, but the one thing that's going to drive them.
Oh wait, hold on. A great dirtbag. You can hold on a second. I forgot to put on two of my lights. I'm gonna put those on right now. So I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll be right back. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, no problem.
No, there were two lights. There were two of my lights I forgot to put on. I mean, I still had enough light, but still, it doesn't give enough brightness for the cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
So, all right, but yeah, go ahead. I apologize. I didn't mean to get you off your train of thought there.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's like for example, all those migrants, those illegal migrants that what was it? They were protesting at Jeff Bezos' house not to cooperate with ICE, right?
At whose house? Wait. They went to Jeff Bezos' house?
Wasn't it Jeff Bezos' house? I thought it was.
Oh, fuck
Gary
them,
Franklin
man.
was covering that story.
Oh, fuck them, man. Don't go to his house, man. That's Amazon. Don't fuck with that guy. I like that guy. It's like, shit, man.
Yeah.
Man, I wish I would have known that. I would have gone up there and said, hey, get away from him. Leave him alone. What are you bothering this guy for? I get all my stuff from this guy. Pretty much everything I'm looking at, except for a couple of things, I get from this guy. Everything in my office, I get from that guy.
Yeah.
And they're going to fuck with this guy. Why are they doing that? Shit. I would have got up there. I would have been up there defending him.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's a leftist. Leave him alone.
Yeah. But Bezos, I'm willing to bet Bezos is a closet conservative. I bet you anything he is. I mean, he may have to satisfy the liberal billionaire left, but I'm willing to bet that he's more of a conservative than he lets on. I mean, capitalism made him rich.
Yeah.
I mean,
the richest man in the world.
I mean,
shit.
Yeah. And it's funny because he doesn't seem to be. Well, you don't really hear about him in the. I know I talk a lot about the globalists. I apologize. I am sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
But you don't really hear him like whenever they talk about the Koch brothers. It's funny because it seems like there's an alliance between the Koch brothers, George Soros, I think Bloomberg's in there, and I think Steyer's in there, and Mark Zuckerberg. And I think Jack Dorsey got dragged into it, but you don't ever hear about Jeff Bezos joining any of these guys.
Well, if you want to know Jeff Bezos' political leanings, all you got to do is read the Washington Post. He bought that newspaper pretty much so he could have a place where he could put out his political thoughts without signing his name to it. But I mean, that's it. I mean, he bought that newspaper was on the way out. It was on his last leg. It was almost done. He came in with a shitload of cash. Said, "Okay, I'm buying it." He bought the whole damn thing. But it's his paper, it's his platform, and so it's he puts out there what he wants to put out. And so if you want to read, if you want to know what he's thinking, like hey, you read Trump's tweets, just read the Washington Post, read the editorial comments, even read the stories they're covering versus stories they don't cover. No, he's an out and out leftist. I don't know if he's a globalist or not, but well, first of all, I'm not sure he'd want to be a globalist anyway. If you're the richest man in the world, why do you want a globalist system? I mean, if anything, that just helps your competitors get closer, to you, and it means you have to come down a little bit, and they all get to rise up. Well, if you're number one, he's like, well, fuck that. I mean, why why am I helping anybody? He didn't get to where he was by helping people out. I mean, I'm sure he was pretty cutthroat on the way up that ladder. I'm sure he was kicking people like people climbing up behind him. I'm sure he was kicking them in the face, knocking them off that ladder. I guarantee it. So I mean, if you think about globalism, it means like, oh, we're all going to share alike. He's like, well, fuck, yeah. Like if you're number two or number three, you want globalism. But if you're number one, the last thing you'd want to be a globalist economy. First of all, Amazon goes everywhere anyway. He's already tied into everybody. He's everywhere. I mean, so he doesn't, you know what I'm saying? I mean, people buy Amazon from all over in fact, he was giving a discount to our troops overseas and stuff, I believe, because everybody orders from him. So I don't know, maybe he's a globalist. I guess, I'm a subscriber to the Washington Post. I probably should start reading that a little more often just to kind of get an idea where he's coming from. Because that's his newspaper. That's his platform, period.
The funny thing, because like the Mercers funded Breitbart for a long time. I think Robert Mercer sold off his stock to his daughters, but from what I understand, they still fund Breitbart. There's a couple of other conservative newses that are conservative outlets that they back. But what's interesting is that I think that I don't know who it was that broke. I don't know if it was the Washington Post that broke that story about those billboards about AOC. Where they, like the ones we were talking about last in the show, where they said thanks AOC for messing up the Amazon deal.
Oh yeah, the one that was in Times Square. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because the Mercers are. I know I talk about the Mercers, but they're fascinating. They are. They're very fascinating because you don't really see. It's funny because you don't really see a billionaire class family like the Mercers able to give so much grief to Soros and all these other people, but not because of backing political candidates. They back ideas. And see, and when you back ideas, you can generally sway public opinion, easy. I think, well, I mean, this is just my opinion, but when you back political ideas, because you put money, they put money into climate change deniers, and they also, what was it? There was a thing that they had, there was an English-speaking, some kind of a thing that they backed a while back. I got to go back and read it, but, and the fact that they don't talk to the press, kind of even rarely talk to the press, kind of makes it even more interesting. It's like, what is it that they're up to? What is it that they want? And I know I say this all the time, but again, you have people that it's almost like the mindset of the Mercers is like, let's see if we can challenge these globalists just to see if they can do it. It's like the hackers. You hear about these hackers, right? The mindset of these hackers that. They don't necessarily, they break into they hack into a system, right? But they don't steal anything. It's not because they wanted to steal anything. They just wanted to test their hacking skills.
Oh, you mean they do it? Wait, hold on. You mean they do it because they just want to see if they could?
Well, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I've heard of hackers that do that. Like they just break. Like they just hack stuff to see if they can do it, not so much like steal something. It's kind of like they walk that fine line of committing the crime, but not. I mean, they're committing the crime, breaking into the system in the first place. Yeah, but it's like they just don't take anything. But it's like the Mercers are like it's almost like they're challenging these globalists to see if they can do it. Because you don't really hear much about what they want or their motivations or anything. Because they were embroiled with that Cambridge Analytical company. And from what I understand, they started another data mining company. I don't know much about it, but I think they brought over some of the old people that worked for Cambridge Analytical.
Oh, really?
But yeah, and it's like you can't really get in their heads because you can only whenever you research billionaires, you have to follow the money trail. You have to follow where they put their money. What their causes, what groups that, what these special interest groups, because as we all know, these globalists are behind the special interest groups. They have people that, organizations within organizations that back these interest groups. Like Open Society Foundation. It's one of the largest special interest groups in the world. But the fact that now that they get kicked out of Hungary and they're kicked out of parts of Europe, now it's good for Europe. It's kind of bad for us because now they have more resources, to try and sway, try and turn us into a third world country. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're not really tied in Europe because now they can come over here. But see the Mercers they back special interest groups too. But I'm not like what was it? There's one called Make America Number One Again or something like that. It's a super PAC. Let me see if I can find it. I'm sorry, Carl.
Right wing super PAC on the right side.
I don't know if I think so. Let me see. Let me see. Mercer's. Let me see if I can find it. It's the billboard. Let me see if I can find the billboard that they back, because I think it was like Make America Number One. Let me see. Okay, a shady conservative group has started a billboard war with AOC.
Shady? Wait. They said they called it a shady conservative group.
Yeah, this is MotherJones.com.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Mother Jones.
Yeah.
No, Mother Jones is. You got. I would say Huffington Post, then Salon, then Mother Jones, and then The Nation in that order, as far as from left to far left. But yeah, Mother Jones is like one step below The Nation. Yeah, Mother Jones is disgusting. They are just a terrible outlet. The people who write for them are just they're idiots. They got a lot of idiots that work for them over there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jobs Creators Network is the name of the organization, and they're backed by the Mercers.
Yeah, they're not. That's not shady. There's nothing shady about that.
No,
it's just
it's
that.
not. No, but
yeah, Mother Jones is now. Mother Jones is shady.
Yeah, I mean, but see, again, it all kind of, if these, and I'll say this, if these globalists had half the brain, I mean, obviously they're smart. I'm not saying, but if they had any intelligence in executing their policies the way the Mercers do, we would be in a lot more trouble than we are now. You know what I'm saying? The reason why I say that is just because of all the things that I've seen and like everything that I've researched on the Mercers, because again, the Mercers are very calculating, it's like they're super intelligent. I mean, Robert Mercer was an algorithms, he was a computer programmer. He might have even invented the whole algorithm ordeal for all we know,
Right.
I mean, the guy's a brilliant computer scientist, and it's kind of like it's like what another YouTuber said. You had some billionaires who were not invited to the party, like Soros was invited to the party, obviously, and all these others. But some of these billionaires, obviously feel left out. So what do? They fight back, because whatever those billionaires who didn't invite them to the club probably, like whatever they had planned for us, they probably had planned for all those other. I know it's silly the way I say it, but where else would they go? Where else would like billionaires like the Mercers go? They would have to find somebody to they would have to pick a side. I mean, why pick a side that's just going to throw you to the wolves? You know what I'm saying? I mean, the progressives have already done that. They don't even know what they're fighting. They're joining these radical. Elements.
I don't even know what the progressives are anymore. I mean, it went from like liberal to progressive to. I don't know. I mean, some of these positions these people are taking on the campaign trail are just really crazy. I mean, reparations. I mean, that's a pretty far out policy without knowing anything more about it, without even having. Like there's this one guy whose show I watch. He comes on here once in a while, Information Man. And now he gave a really intelligent reason for reparations. I mean, a really intelligent reason. I mean, some real logical stuff. But and it was like, well, and I even said to myself, I said, well, that sounds logical. That actually makes sense. But then you hear these candidates. It's like, man, just watch this guy's show. If you want to go out there and push for this, at least give the American people some good reasons as to why they should support it. But these candidates, they don't say
Yeah.
anything intelligent. They just say, well, it's just to make up for bad things in the past. Well, that's not going to sell it to anybody. Now, if you
Mm-hmm.
give some people like an A to B, B to C, D to E reparations argument, yeah, you can make that. And the same thing with everything else, minimum wage. They don't sit there and say, well, yeah, it's not going to be great for everybody, but it's going to help most people, and make an intelligent argument for it. It's like, well, okay, that kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But all these
Yeah.
we should decriminalize the border. Well, okay, give some reasons why, and tell us how it's going to look on the other side of what your policy is. No, of course they won't do that. So the American people are like,
Mm-hmm.
wait a second. Oh, give illegal aliens, free health care. Well, give an intelligent argument for that.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't. They just say, oh, because it's the
Yeah.
humane thing to do, and that's our country, and we can do better, and all that. I always hate that we can do better. They always compare us to some
Yeah.
kind of ideal. Compare us side by side with any other country in
Yeah.
the world. Do that, okay? Tell,
Yeah.
tell, tell us who's doing a better job than we are. If there is nobody, then that
Yeah.
means we're doing the best. Not the best we can. We're doing the best. Okay? We figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
We got it done. We're
Yeah.
doing it the best, better than anybody else in the world is doing it.
Yeah.
We're the first multicultural society that
Yeah.
actually works in the history of the world.
Yeah.
There's never been a multicultural society that's
Exactly. Yeah.
worked. This one works, as long as the liberals don't come in
Yeah.
and fuck it all up.
Yeah. Well, it's like there has to be a limit on it's kind of like it's like like there has to be a limit on things. You know what I mean? Like let's face it. Far left liberalism destroys everything it touches. Center left liberalism is not so bad. That's just my opinion, Carl, because I do have some left leaning views on certain things. But
Well,
if
you look at like a Tim Pool, okay, he doesn't say
Mm-hmm.
anything
Yeah.
overtly stupid, okay, and he's center left,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
center left generally this country gets run by either center left or center right. It gets fucked up when it goes too far right, which it really hasn't ever done, to be honest with you. But we know it gets fucked up when it goes too far
Mm-hmm.
left, because that is done several times, and it gets totally fucked up. Whether it's the Carter administration, whether it's the Obama administration, Clinton in his first 2 years before the Republicans reined him in, they took back the House. Yeah, that was getting fucked up. Okay, but luckily, Newt Gingrich came to save the day, and and the rest is history. And the country actually ran pretty well. Not thanks to Bill Clinton, because if Bill Clinton had his way, it'd been totally fucked up. So, but we know what it looks like when it goes far left. It generally gets fucked up. So, don't go there.
Most, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like whenever, most of what screws up with most of the ideology on the left that screws a lot of stuff is the fact that they want socialism. They want socialist policies out the yin, the way I say this, but out the yin yang. They want, everyone is saying I talked to a guy today who was he had retired twice from a corporate, he retired once in the military, twice in corporate America. He was 60 years old. And what was funny was, he started, he said he was a registered Republican, but, I can tell he was a little bit like me, but when he starts talking about saying everybody likes their Social Security, they like their Medicare, but yet they don't want socialism. And I said, well, how is it that you got to retire twice in the years that you told me? How would you have been able to do that if we were socialists? And then he starts talking about how Denmark has this and better health care and education. I said, well, you do know that Denmark is predominantly free market. I mean, at least to the point where they can have enough to pay for their social safety nets, and
right.
you don't really have, and I was watching Axe Truth a little bit today, and Axe aired this woman that was, I think she was I don't know if she was legal or illegal, but she has all this expensive clothing on, jewelry, as far as I can tell on the photo, right? And she's mouthing off and everything, and I'm like, I guarantee you Denmark ain't got nobody like that. At least, and if they do, and they're found out about it, I guarantee you they're going to investigate them, because, obviously there's something wrong with this person's wearing, $90 Jordans and clothes that are like, $100 to $110. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
Only in America can you do something like that. I mean, I just think, and this is where these liberal policies as far as these economic liberal policies have gotten us. They don't, Obama was trying to prop up the welfare class. He was trying to prop up as many people as he can to drain our system, put them on welfare, put them on government assistance, give them all kinds of free this, free that, and he was basically trying to make it out like they were the rising stars of America, and, he was basically trying to give middle America the shaft. He didn't, because as we all know, the whole goal of the globalists is to decimate the middle class. That's what they try to do. And it's like right now with what they're doing by flooding our country with, migrants from South America. They're draining our resources.
Yeah, but did you like that deal Trump did today?
I didn't see it. What happened?
Right. Hold on. Let me get to it. Hold on.
I do know that the Supreme Court sided with him $2.5 billion, and some moron tweeted out that the $2.5 billion could be used to provide better care for children at the border. Well, guess what? What's going to stop the next wave from coming over? I mean, these people just, they make these comments to pander to a certain base. We all know this. In Pelosi, I saw a tweet today from Pelosi. Oh, we're a democracy, not a monarchy. Well, if Pelosi had her way, we would be a monarchy. In the fact that she can't even control these four, the four. Well, because of the algorithms, I say the four. Everyone in the chat is pretty smart and they know what I'm talking about when they say the four. And it's like they won't. None of these other Democrats are afraid to stand up to them. Pelosi tried, and it's like she got quiet down real quick. I mean, I'm sorry. Let me know. Oh, okay. Oh, Inco descent. Oh, wow. Guatemala. Oh, wow. See, Carl, we've got to get Trump reelected in 2020. I mean, we all have. It's funny. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to bounce around the subject to subject, but I actually thought about closer to 2020, maybe putting an ad in the paper, people need to go vote. Give me, what I'm saying. Help get people to the polls. I mean, no charge enough for gas money. You know what I'm saying? And for everybody. I'm not just not just people who vote. But for anybody. You know what I'm saying? People gotta do what they can to get people to the polls. Carl?
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Watch this.
Did you hear everything I was saying?
No. I heard everything you're saying. Okay. Hey, check this ad I ran.
Okay.
I ran this full page ad today. Check it out.
U.S. Inc.'s deal to send my. Oh, wow. Oh, man, he won it. Boy, I never get tired of winning. We can never get tired of winning. Oh, wow.
Yep.
This was done today?
Yep. Yeah.
I will.
Carl's Opinion YouTube channel. Live video call in, and then on the bottom, Trump 2020. Hey, Trump 2020. Yeah. Pretty cool. You'll see it coming up in a couple minutes here. We got about 20-second delay. Okay. You'll see it coming on the screen. Then,
Guatemala is probably one of the more for that part of the region, they're probably one of the more wealthier countries considering the part of the region they're in.
Oh no, I covered that. You missed it. I covered that a couple of weeks ago. Guatemala's GDP doubled. One of the ministers for Guatemala did an interview with the Associated Press. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. And their GDP doubled in the last 10 years. Their crime rate is the lowest it's been in 15 to 20 years. Their unemployment rate is like 2.1 or 2.2%. Their murder rate was cut in half in the last 10 years as well. So no, the country's doing really good. Well, anyway, so check this shit out. Mm-hmm. So anyway, remember McClellan, the guy over there at Homeland Security? Everybody thought he leaked that ICE raid, the first ICE raid that was supposed to go out, that he leaked it because he didn't want it to go down. Well, he probably did. But anyway, back then when I covered the story, the big thing he was really in favor of was not so much the ICE raids in the United States. In fact, he kind of doesn't like it, But
Mhm.
what he was really pushing hard for was that we do more in Central
Mhm.
America, so these people don't want to come up here, right? So anyway, so
Yeah.
here comes that, and if I covered the story last week, last week, uh, maybe over the weekend. The El Salvadorian president sent out a tweet saying, "Hey, those he just got elected. He's like 37 years old. He's like Pete Buttigieg's age, and he got elected on an anti-corruption
Mhm.
platform because the damn government is so damn corrupt. So he got elected on that."
Yeah.
And he put a tweet out saying, "Hey, look, we can blame all the other countries in the world for those two people that died in the Rio Grande River, the father and his daughter, because they were from El Salvador." He goes, but he goes,
Mhm.
where were they fleeing from? He goes, they weren't fleeing from the United States to swim across the river. They were fleeing from our country to get to the United States. And then he
Mhm.
said, it's our fault that they're dead. That's what he said. So anyway, Trump saw that,
Oh my.
right? Well, no, it was great. So anyway, so
Mhm.
Trump sees that and he retweets it. He goes, hey, man, whatever you need. Well, anyway, Pompeo's doing a Latin American tour. And I'll tell you why I
Mhm.
know they added El Salvador on at the end, because the tour, the second to last stop he was making was in Ecuador, and then the next stop he made was to Mexico City. Well, normally you kind of work your way through and you keep heading north, right? Well, he goes to Mexico City, and then
Mhm.
guess what? Then he decides to fly south. He goes to San Salvador, goes to El Salvador to meet with his president guy from El Salvador, a 37-year-old
Mhm.
kid. Meets with him. They come out. They hold a nice little press conference. So it's like there's like going to be some good money heading his way to help his country out, but no, not corrupt kind of money. And anyway, Guatemala,
Mhm.
that shit went south because the State Department was fucking that up, and I covered that story. I got it up here in
Mhm.
the queue. Leftists in the State Department were fucking it
Mhm.
up, and the ambassador down there, she was one of those leftists. Well, anyway, because their Supreme Court said, oh, you can't become a safe third country, so to stop people from
Mhm.
getting past Guatemala. Well, anyway,
Mhm.
it got fucked up when McClellan went down there and talked to some people. And again, he's really big into this whole thing. So anyway, they held a press conference today. McClellan's in there talking to the ambassador from Guatemala, and they worked out this deal. And they said, "Well, didn't your Supreme Court said you couldn't do this?" He goes, "No, they said we couldn't do it by a
Mhm.
certain procedure, but we took care of that, and we're doing it this way." So now Guatemala can be. Now here's the
Mhm.
deal. Guatemala can become a safe third country. There's this H-1 visa, like, for the high-tech guys. Well, there's
Mhm.
also like an H-1 visa for like, temporary visa for
Mhm.
migrant workers, for farmers. So what Trump did was part of this deal. He
Mhm.
made it super. He says we're going to make it really easy for your people in Guatemala to be able to come to the United States on these H-1 visas to do work up here. Now that's
Mhm.
really important to
Oh
Guatemala because
yeah.
Guatemala gets a shitload of money from remittances as well. So now they're going to have these people
Mhm.
going. Well, look, we need farm workers. Okay, who cares where they come from? I'd rather they come from some country that's helping
Yeah.
us out than some other country that isn't. So we'll take these
Yeah.
guys. They're going
Exactly.
to come
Yeah.
up here, get their temporary visas, blah blah blah. Come up here, do some work, make some money,
Mhm.
send it back home, do whatever. Maybe come back every season. Who
Mhm.
knows? Maybe stick around. I don't know. Maybe become illegal. Who gives a shit? But anyway, Guatemala is not going to be a safe third country. Guatemala is the last stop before you get to Mexico. So that includes El Salvador
Mhm.
and Honduras. So what happens is
Yeah.
they have to stop in Guatemala and make an application for asylum. And if they go straight to the United States without making that application for asylum in Guatemala, we get to send them back to Guatemala.
Mhm.
And
Oh
check
yes.
and
Yeah.
check this shit
Mhm.
out with the Mexicans. Everybody says, "Oh, this deal with Mexico is not going to work." Anyway, the numbers went down the month of June. The numbers interdictions went down by 24%. Okay, this month they're tracking it going
Mhm.
down an additional 22%, which means by the end of this month
Mhm.
it'll probably be down a total of 46%. Further, check this shit out. In the month of June, the number of people we were releasing into the United States per day went from 1,200 people per day we were releasing into the United States down to 200, like an 85%
Oh wow.
drop. Yeah, so
Uh huh.
The Mexicans are stepping up, the Guatemalans are stepping up. Looks like this guy in El Salvador is going to step
Yeah.
up. And you know what? And like Trump said, he's getting more help from the damn Mexicans than he's getting from the damn Democrats in Congress. I mean, it's
Yeah.
freaking
Yeah.
hilarious.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you know what Trump did too was like when he back when he was restructuring the immigration, like the requirements for immigration, he was, I believe he was he, well, I think he succeeded. I could be wrong, but I think he succeeded in making it more easier for people who have skills, meaning people who are going to pay more into the system than what they're going to use in government benefits. Like technicians, welders, people with trades. And to me, that's good. It's a good thing because if again, as everybody knows, if you flood us with unskilled labor, which we have enough of that. I mean, I'm on that list too. You know, I never went to college. I never went to trade school. Um, you know, it hurts people like me. You know, it hurts people like, people who, are maybe retired and working a part-time job. I mean, it just, and I'm glad we have someone like Trump is looking out for people like me. I mean, it's people, the working class is doing what they can without. I mean, they're just trying to get by. And we have to deal with the nonsense of the progressive left wanting socialism and freedom and everybody to come into this country freely without merit or without proper procedures. Skipping ahead of everybody else who's been trying to do it legally. And we have to deal with that, and a shrinking. Well, I don't. Well, we might. I guess we're still shrinking. I don't. I haven't looked at those numbers, but I mean, it just. I just don't understand how these progressives think. I was never really on that side, so I couldn't really like Axel. I mean, you get a good idea when you listen to Axel, when he talks. But Axel was red-pilled when Bernie Sanders let the DNC walk over him. Same thing with H.A. Goodman. H.A. Goodman's a pretty smart guy, but I don't think he was full leftist. I never really I never really saw his videos.
Well,
prior to him being a Trump supporter.
He used to write for the Huffington Post back in 2016. So I mean, he had to be pretty far to the left to be doing that. So yeah, I mean somewhere. But I mean, I like watching H.A. Goodman. I wish he did more live shows. He just did one Wednesday night. I think he might have been on around the same time I was on because I caught his rebroadcast. But he was saying, "Oh, it's the first live show I've done in a while because I've been having a lot of success with my video shots." But I think a lot of people like live shows, because they're live. I mean, you're actually watching it. Really, you don't have to wait till later to watch it or anything. But I like his show a lot. He's really been going in good on this whole Mueller and Clapper, Comey, Mifsud thing. We covered them. I'm not sure if you watched our show on the 18th. We covered it really good, and then I kind of covered it again pretty good on Wednesday night too. In fact, I played part of my video from June 18th because June 18th, if you want to see the whole nasty, detailed Mifsud, Clapper, Comey, Strzok, Brennan, Obama. You want to see all that put together and just kind of back and forth, Papadopoulos. I mean, I kind of went. I did a bunch of research on it. It was like a 2-hour video, and I think I had one phone call that night, and that was it. It was pretty much me for like 2.5 hours. And I mean, I just went after article after article after article, and which is, so if you really want to watch one, go back to June 18th. Wednesday's video, I have a link in Wednesday night's video to it. But if you really want to get some real detailed stuff on it, it was I did a lot of work. That's why Wednesday night I didn't do all the research all over again. Fuck that. I was just playing part of the video and then discussing it as we went along. But yeah, it was. But H.A. Goodman does a pretty good job on that, though.
Oh yeah. You know what's interesting? I don't know if I haven't seen Derek Grayson in a while, but I could have sworn there were a couple of videos that he said he was thinking about running again. I think when I don't know if he is or isn't. I haven't seen his videos in a while, but I think he was talking about maybe possibly trying to run again for what was it that he ran for the House, right? Or did he run for the the Senate?
I think he ran for the Senate. I think he ran for the Senate.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm willing to bet you he'd get a ton more votes now than what he did back when he ran. I think it was 2013 or 14 when he ran. But the thing about Grayson, when Grayson is one of the few YouTubers that has my ear. When he talks, I listen. But when he talks about, I just don't. Again, it's just me. But when he talks about, when he gets into the same-sex marriage talk and everything, I'm like, Mr. Grayson, come on. People do have a right to pursue happiness. I mean, I understand that those are his beliefs, and I respect that.
Well, remember, he's a preacher. You ever watch his Sunday shows? He's actually standing in front of a pulpit. He goes to a church. He's a minister. So that's his background. I mean, that's who he is. I mean, he can't. I mean, yeah, he's
Yeah. Oh,
political.
yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's political, but he's deeply religious, and he's like, you know,
Yeah.
like I don't want to say born
Mhm.
again. He might be Baptist or whatever, but yeah, he's pretty strict on
Mhm.
his religion. So yeah, I mean, with his politics, you get his religion. I mean, that's who the guy
Yeah.
is. You
I
know.
just Yeah, yeah, no, I filter all that. I just kind of like, like when he talks, and he brings that up. I just still listen. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I respect Derek Grayson. I mean, the man is super intelligent. You know, and when you know, because I know I learn a lot from him when I watch him. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's the same thing. It's like Stexenhammer. Not everything. I probably agree a lot more with Stexenhammer than I do with Derek Grayson. But Derek Grayson is like spot on when he talks. He's like 80% spot on. The only thing that I get a little confused is like he calls Doug Collins a rhino, but Doug Collins, I don't know if he is or isn't a rhino. I
You mean
can't.
Doug Collins, the ranking member on the Intel committee, or no, ranking member on the
I
Intel committee? Yeah, I think it's ranking member or the no, shit, ranking member on the Judiciary Committee. Yeah, he's sits opposite Nadler, doesn't he? Yeah, he does.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, Doug
but
Collins.
he,
I'm not.
but he,
I don't think.
but
I don't know. I don't know if he's a. Well, he might be a rhino, but he's really pissed off about this whole investigation. I mean, he really delivered some really good
mm-hmm.
shit on this. I don't know if
Yeah.
he's a rhino though. I think.
I mean,
Well, I think anybody that Grayson doesn't like is a rhino. He just
yeah,
calls a
yeah,
rhino.
that's yeah. Well, it's like too, like when he was bashing, okay, like when he was talking about Tucker Carlson, right? And when he talks about how Fox News is, you know, part of the mainstream, the globe, the whole globalist thing, right? The thing that I would ask Derek Grayson, well, why did George Soros groups try to get Hannity fired? Why are they trying to get Tucker fired? You know, I mean, I wonder. Derek Grayson never really covers that. He never even talked about. Well, he might have. I don't know. He could have. I don't know if he did or didn't. But I know in the videos that I saw him, he never talked about how Antifa went to Tucker's house and terrorized his family. You know, I mean, it's like
Well, no. If you know,
I would ask.
here's the problem with Derek. It's like if you don't. I don't know. It's like it's almost like if you don't follow if you're not a strict 1,000% constitutionalist, he's going to call you out on it. Like
Mhm.
if you just sway just a little bit away from it once in a while, he's going to call you out on it. I remember watching at least one of his videos where he was going after Tucker Carlson, who was pissed off about something, and
Mhm.
I'm like, well, the guy's on Fox News. I mean, you want him to say stuff that would get him banned off of YouTube, let alone Fox News. I mean, I
Mhm.
mean, he's on a network. There's only so much you can say and do on a network, and he does it. But he does. I think he
Yeah.
does. I like watching him more than I like watching Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham.
Yeah.
I like watching Tucker
Mhm.
show more than I like watching the other two. I like watching Laura, though she gets kind of goofy sometimes. And then
Yeah.
and Sean,
Jeannie Pirro.
excuse me.
Jeannie Pirro. Judge Steve Pirro.
I cannot watch her.
Oh. Uh,
That yeah,
um.
that's too much. I can't watch. I watch like Greg Gutfield comes on. I think right after she does or right before. I can't remember. But yeah, I watch.
Mhm.
I think he
Yeah.
comes. Yeah, I watch Greg Gutfield because he does a real good conservative
Oh,
stick.
he's
But
hysterical.
he does it with a lot of
Yeah.
humor. But he really does a really good
Yeah.
conservative show. But again, he just does it with a lot of humor,
Mhm.
and I like watching that.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Mhm. You know what's interesting? Like I remember a while back on the show we were talking about One American News, right? And I was thinking about the conversation we had that evening, and it was interesting because you brought up a good point. But then I was thinking about something else too. It's like because with the way the left wing media has been spewing, their propaganda and twisting and turning everything that Trump says, they try to spin it into a racism. It's like I was thinking, how do you reinvent telling the news? Well, one of those ways that you approach it is the way, like, say, the Stexenhammer does, like where he talks about a story. But what One American News does is they take the story and then they spin it like an opinion type. How do I say, like commentary type news reporting. What I mean by that is like they talk about what's going on and they just kind of leave you to it's like news was back in the 80s and the 70s. You know what I mean? Where they just gave you the news
Yeah, I
and
mean, well,
you had to
yeah,
kind of.
yeah, we kind of do that here on this site. We give you the news, and of course, we offer commentary, conservative commentary to go along with it. Like I say, in-depth
Yeah.
analysis and commentary. So we don't just do analysis
Mhm.
of the news stories, but we also provide
Mhm.
commentary. Like I'll talk about like this
Mhm.
story here, the Supreme Court. I'll talk about the Barr and Durham going after the tapes of Mifsud, but then a lot of times what I try to do is I try to deep dive into a story to kind of give a little more
Mhm.
in-depth analysis, so that you don't just get the headline and the first two paragraphs, but then
Mhm.
I try to cross-reference other stories and other research I do, and sometimes I'll pull up a story from 6 months ago to kind of do that. But
Mhm.
I think that's important, though. I think it's important to, so One American News is doing that. That sounds excellent. I mean, I like Sticks and Hammer. I watch him
Mhm.
every morning. Though he's in
Yeah.
Europe right now, I couldn't remember why he wasn't broadcasting yesterday. And then when he came on this morning, I caught his show. He goes, "I'm in Europe right now." I'm like, "Oh shit, that's right. He was traveling yesterday, so he couldn't broadcast anything." But he's in
Mhm.
Europe. He's in Europe today, and he says, "I'm not saying
Mhm.
where yet, but I'm here." So I don't know where he is, but he was bitching about the fact that
Mhm.
I don't know why, but whatever hotel he was in, I don't know where he was staying, but he couldn't get a spoon to clank his coffee cup with.
Mhm.
He clanks his
Uh-huh.
coffee cup with a spoon.
Oh.
Yeah, and I remember the
Yeah.
first time I started watching him, and I kept hearing this clinking noise. I go, "What the fuck's that noise?" And then it's like he's got the spoon. He says, and I say, "Well," and it looks so weird when he drinks that coffee cup with that spoon in it. It's like, man, get that spoon out of it. But then he claims, it's one of the shows I was watching, he claims that it makes the coffee taste better when the spoon's in it. I don't know about that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, why do you gonna put a
Ah,
stainless
well.
steel stainless steel inside your coffee and make it taste like, I don't know, stainless steel? I don't know. I don't know, but anyway, that's why he drinks his coffee. It drives me nuts. But he was really pissed off this morning because he had like something made out of wood, like a wood stirrer, and he couldn't clank it on the cup.
Mhm.
But it's like, damn it, man, go down to the store and buy
Mhm.
a freaking spoon. I can't believe the hotel didn't have any
Yeah.
spoons. They don't sell spoons in the hotel. I mean, they
Mhm.
don't have spoons in the hotel when you order room service. I don't know. Maybe I think he
Mhm.
might have been staying like one of those hostels or something, like in that
Mhm.
movie,
Yeah.
where they kidnap you and they
Mhm.
cut off your body parts. So maybe tomorrow we'll hear about him
Mhm.
that body parts being cut up or something. I don't know.
Mhm. It's a real honor to have Stetson Hammer. I've had him pin a few of my comments before, my one-liner comments, and it's an honor to have a celebrity like Stetson Hammer pin a comment. Like Total Eclipse. It's funny because I'm
I
sorry.
got you
Not
beat.
to
I
start the
got you
subject,
beat. I got you beat on that one. He was doing his live show, and I put a comment in
uh,
the chat room, and he read it, and he actually responded
uh,
back to me. Ah,
oh, he did. Oh, wow,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
because
no, yeah,
I
he
asked
did.
him,
Yeah.
if he was going to do a live call-in show. And so he said,
Mhm.
and I've talked about this in the past. You always got to be careful. A lot of people get on my ass because I'm really tough on the comment section and I'm tough on what people say on the site. But there's a reason for that. And so when I asked Stixenhammer, I said on the chat, I said, "Hey, are you gonna do a live call-in show?" And he goes, "Oh man, I would, but
Mhm.
somebody's liable to put some racist shit on a phone call.
Mhm.
It gets on YouTube and they'll give
Mhm.
me a strike, they'll ban me, whatever." Because I can't take that chance. So, and I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, I understand. So what I wrote back
Mhm.
to him, and I could tell he read it, but he might have thought I was trolling him because I've never commented before on
Mhm.
his site, So I said to
Mhm.
him, "Well, you need to get a zombie."
Mhm. You know what I do? You know what
Because
I do?
when I use a
Whenever
zombie,
somebody,
when I use a zombie, on the phone calls, I
Mhm.
said, "Well, you need to get a zombie,"
Mhm.
and then he looked at it,
Mhm.
but he didn't want to say it out loud because he thought maybe I was trolling him or something. But yeah,
Mhm.
you got to be really careful. I have a broadcast delay now, full broadcast delay, so
Mhm.
when we
Mhm.
take a phone call now, it's just like on the radio. I can bleep it out and shit. But I have it set up with the audio
Mhm.
and the video. Took me months to figure that out, by the
Mhm.
way. I just got it
Mhm.
figured out last week, and I've been actually been using it. So I tested it on Effie.
Mhm.
Effie Loves America one night. She was on. I didn't tell her I was going to do
Mhm.
it, but because I wanted her to talk
Mhm.
naturally. So then in the middle of our conversation,
Mhm.
I did the broadcast delay and I zapped
Mhm.
her. And then I gave her the zombie,
Mhm.
and then it came back, and she goes, "Did
Mhm.
you just give me the zombie?" And I go, "Yeah, sorry."
You know what I do? Whenever somebody goes live, like whenever Sweet Ally goes, or I'm sorry, conservative. Well, she's now known as Conservative Truth Network or New World Order. The Times of the R-rated conservative. Whenever they go live, I'll literally go into the chat and I'll go, "Can I please make fun of corrupt politicians?" And I'll put a big old please. I'm basically acting like a kid. I know. But what's really funny is they'll read it, and R-rated conservative goes, he goes, "Yeah, yeah, go ahead, you can make fun of it." JB Gunner lets me do it. And what's funny is sometimes I try not to, but I think sometimes my one-liners are very distracting to people because I'm getting LOLs. I'm getting my name highlighted in red, and people are like, somebody tells me like, "You just made me choke on my coffee," But the funny thing is that when I was talking about total eclipse, is that I'm thinking, I don't know this for sure, but I'm thinking they're starting to shadow ban my comments because I noticed some of my comments are disappearing on some of these other, like, some of the videos, like, when I write a one-liner in there, it's like they don't even see it, or it's gone. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Oh, really?
well, yeah.
Well,
I mean, it's like,
you
I'm
could
like,
like if you're a moderator, like you're a moderator on this site, like you ever see where it says where somebody puts a comment up there and it says under review and it asks you to show it or
yeah,
hide it. Yeah. Now, so if you're not if you're not a moderator on that site, you wouldn't see that. You wouldn't see that your comment was subject to review based on YouTube's algorithms. So in other words, as a host, you can check the box, and I do. Okay. Well, I have two things I do. One, I have a number of bad words that if you put on if you type it in, it won't even let you it won't post it. Now, if you're the one posting it, you'll see it, but nobody else will. That's it. It won't post. Now, also what you can do is you can next a box that says hold for review, potentially inappropriate. Now they went through the SPLC and the ADL to get a list of words and comments and phrases that they think are inappropriate. Now you can show or hide those. And so if you're a moderator, you'll see it. It'll say show. Well, it'll have a box, show or hide. In fact, one night I think I can't remember who it was. One of my subs put a comment up there, and I said, "Oh, that's okay." So I went to show it, but I hit the wrong button. I hit the hide button, and it was gone. I was like, "Oh shit!" But what I tell people on my side is, if you see that, let me make the call on it, because see, as a host, you're responsible for everything that comes on your site, whether it comes over your phone or whether it goes on your chat room. Okay, you're it. You can't say, "Well, that guy got it through and I didn't see it." Nope, tough shit. You're out. You're gone. You're kicked off. You get a strike. You whatever. They ban you. Whatever. So same thing like a phone call.
that's what.
So if you're gonna do live phone calls, you really need to have like some kind of a broadcast delay or a safety system, because you can't tell YouTube, oh, like some guy got through somehow. And YouTube said, "Well, that's your fault. If you can do live call-ins, we let you do live call-ins, but that's fine. But anything that comes over that audio, it's as if you the host was saying it. You were saying it. That's it. So yeah, it's real important. You gotta be very careful. I mean, look, we believe in capitalism, right? Okay, like the Washington Post, we were just talking about this Jeff Bezos' platform. Okay, if you want to go on that platform, it's a liberal platform. If you want to read his paper, YouTube is a liberal platform. The guys who own it, the guys who run it, are liberals. Well, okay. So we can sit here now. The only thing I disagree with is whether or not they get that exemption. See, like the Washington Post, they're a publisher because they edit content. You can't just write a letter to the editor; they're going to put it in there. I mean, they choose what they can put on letter to the editors, right? You can't say here's an article, posted on your website, posted in your newspaper. They'd get to decide that. Well, because of that, they also, since they're in charge of the content, they can be sued for libel and defamation because they're the ones making the decision. YouTube said and Google said gazillion years ago, told Congress, no, we don't edit content. We're just a platform. We don't edit content. So they got an exemption from the libel laws. You can't sue YouTube or Google for defamation or libel. So now, the only thing I disagree with, since they are editing content, obviously, then those regulations that exemption needs to be done away with. And there's a move in Congress right now by both people on the right and Warren and Sanders and Gabby Tulsi Gabbard. She just filed a lawsuit as well. What's his name? Covered it. We just talked about him. The little short guy. Who the fuck we were just talking about? Who's the little short guy we were just talking? Tim Pool.
Oh, Tim Cast?
Yeah, Tim Cast.
Yeah, Tim Pool, yeah.
He just covered that. So that exemption should go away. But once that exemption goes away, look, I may get banned one day from these guys. Okay? They may say, okay, Jogger, we're done. Go away. And that's just the way it is. It's they own it. I don't own it. They own it. Okay? I mean, like Amazon. Jeff Bezos owns that. Well, he's a leftist. He owns the Washington Post. He's a leftist. But he owns it. That's him. So we're either capitalists or we're not. they're not the government. You know, if you don't like this, if you don't like their
Mhm.
platform, you don't like the fact you're restricted on what you can say or do, then go somewhere else. Go to another platform. Say,
Yeah.
well, that's not as popular.
Yeah.
Well, that's capitalism. They have a better product. They put out. You look. You like even Tim Pool says YouTube puts out the best product out there, and they do. Better than Minds, better
Yeah.
than BitChute,
Mhm.
better than anybody else. They just do it. So
Yeah.
if you want to be on their platform, you got to obey their rules and the rules. And
Mhm.
now, if they're discriminating against people on the right, and they let people on the left say certain things, well, that's wrong. You know. But then again, they own the damn thing, but they shouldn't get the
Yeah.
exemption
Yeah.
on
True.
government They shouldn't get the exemption the government gives them, as far as not being able to be sued for libel and
Yeah.
defamation because they are editing content. And then there's issues whether they're a
Yeah.
vertical monopoly or not, or they engage in anti-competition behavior. That's a whole other issue as well.
Mhm.
But that's not really about us
Mhm.
anyway. That again, if you don't want to be on their site, if you don't want to play by their rules, then go onto another site. If you're a host, go onto another site.
Yeah.
But here
Yeah.
we are.
You know,
I'm okay with that.
what's it? Mhm. Yeah. What's interesting is that I mean I hear I forget who it was. I think it was Efi. I could be wrong, but I think it was Efi Loves America was talking about BitChute is BitChute is trying to get into streaming service or live shows. And what's interesting is I bet once they get successful with that and they can find a way to make it work properly, they're going to have more people come over to BitChute, more of the conservative base. But the problem that BitChute faces is that, and I think Stexaner was talking about that, is an infiltration of the left, because I think there's already some left-wing creative commentators that are already on there, and which is fine. I'm for, but if these leftists come in there and then they start taking over and then they start trying to kick conservatives off, like other
Well,
social
well,
media platforms are doing. Well,
well. Who owns BitChute? The guy who owns BitChute, Sticks had him on his show. He did that live interview with him. Remember that? It was about a month ago.
I don't
Sticks
think I
and him.
saw that.
Yeah, he did a live interview with the guy, and he sounds like
Uh-huh.
I couldn't make out if he was right or left. He just sounds like a guy who just wants to make some money. Now, the whole thing is this guy who owns BitChute. Let's be honest. If he gets if he starts getting big, well, YouTube's going to offer him like a shitload of money to buy him, and this guy's going to be like, well, I can stand by my principles and have a platform for conservatives, or I can take $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that guy's going to do? See, I mean that.
I'd say he'd probably say, well,
Yeah,
I,
a lot of what YouTube has been doing has been like, anytime somebody starts coming up to compete with them, they just go buy them. It's like, well, and then somebody
yeah,
offers them $100 million. It's like, well,
mm,
see ya. you know, it's remember
you heard of Parler?
I think that joke. I think I was making that joke the one night. Like, George Soros knocks on my door and says, "Hey, Carl, I tell you what, here's $100 million. I want you to start being on the left on your show." It's like, $100 million. I'm sure I could rationalize that somehow. I can donate to
Yeah,
charity or
yeah,
something. Yeah, but I mean,
yeah,
who turns down $100 million? I mean
yeah. Well,
that's a shitload
it's
of
like,
money.
mhm,
You know.
yeah, yeah. See, it's like only people that would turn it down would be the idealists, people who are idealists, right? Like, okay, like for example, I'm going to use myself as an example, right? And I know I've said this before, but I've had people tell me, why isn't it I don't write a book, right? And I know I've said this before, I know, I have, right? But, the joy that I bring is bringing humor to people. Yeah, I mean, maybe one day I'll write a book. You know what I'm saying? I mean, one of my friends is asking me to do that. He wants me to, says he can help me out with it, but I've looked at the royalties and then it doesn't pay much, I mean, it's just, I don't know if it's a risk I want to take, but anyway, financially, but anyway, I put my one-liners out there for people to, get a laugh and use them if they
Well,
want. Pizza Patriot
if
made.
you want to write a book, there's like these self-publishing places where I think Amazon does self-publishing and stuff. Check out
Mm-hmm.
Amazon. Amazon. See, I was joking the other night because I was
Yeah.
talking about Amazon, and I said, okay, look, because I buy
Mm-hmm.
all my stuff from Amazon because I live, an hour and a half away
Mm-hmm.
from the nearest city. So I have to buy. I don't feel like
Mm-hmm.
driving 3 hours round trip to go buy office supplies and whatever. And it's cheaper for me to buy from Amazon than even Office Depot and all the other shit. So I was joking around, and I said every time I mention
Yeah.
Amazon, I get an additional 2%, 2 points off.
Mm-hmm.
off my bill.
Mm-hmm.
And then I mentioned Jeff Bezos. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
and I go, and every time I mention Jeff Bezos, I get an extra 5% off.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? If I did write a book, it would probably be, I would probably, I don't know, because if I start like, like if AOC, if I make AOC the star of my book, or if I make the, B4 the star of my book, like pointing out their ideology, we're one-liners.
Well,
Like
actually, hold on.
the,
Oh wait, hold on. Can I tell you something? If you made
sure.
AOC the star, if you made AOC the star of your book and you badmouth her, I guarantee you Jeff Bezos would publish that book.
You think
Remember,
so?
AOC's the one that kept
Oh.
him out of New York. Remember, she's the one who bitched and
Oh,
moaned
yes,
about
yes, yes,
Amazon.
yes, yes,
Yeah, you're
yeah.
kidding? He hates her. And fuck,
Mm-hmm.
shit, it'd be like, hey, I want to write a
Wow.
book badmouthing AOC. He was like, yeah, what do you need? We're all over it. Yeah, he was.
And I've got good material to do it. I've
Oh
got good. I
yeah,
mean, I got
the
years of one-liners.
Amazon definitely publishes that book. Yeah, no, he was pissed. He put a lot.
Oh wow.
His people put a lot of time into that deal in New York. It was gonna be 25,000
Mm-hmm.
jobs. It was. I mean, it was. And and the campus they were building in the Queens or Brooklyn. I forgot where it was now. Was a campus big enough to hold 40,000 employees. So they were planning on growing.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they just had their
Yeah.
first quarter of not record-breaking profits. Because they've been breaking their records on profits like every quarter for like I can't remember how many quarters. Well, they're still making a shitload of money, but they didn't break another record this quarter. Woo, big deal. So I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
they were planning on expanding up to 40,000 employees. I just saw a story today though. They're planning on going over to Fifth Avenue now in Manhattan. They're actually looking over there now
Mm-hmm.
for some property. That's super
Mm-hmm.
expensive, but he is the
Mm-hmm.
richest man in the world, so it's not like he can't afford it. Shit, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like when the John Ferry guy, he was asking me about my one-liners one time, right? And it's cool. Hey, I love my fans. I love my fans. And what I was telling him was like the way I do it is that there's different kinds of one-liners you can use. I won't say in here because of the algorithms, but the way I do it is I try not to use the same word twice in a sentence. Like when I say the or a, right? Like, or I take two words like supper and dinner and word them to make a one-liner. So and so throws dinner to eat supper. You know what I'm saying? And even though it's the same type of meaning, the situation and the reality of someone doing that would be complete and utter foolishness, Or like if I do something like where somebody would evacuate, would leave their home to seek shelter from the rain, right? From the rain, right?
Uh-huh.
What's so intelligent about leaving your home to seek shelter from the rain? You know what I'm saying? But
Right,
the way
right.
you word it is how it makes it funny.
Yeah.
Just like I think it's and I've got a whole notebook of stuff that I've written down, and and I try to spin where I try to take. Sometimes I can actually recycle the joke, but depending on how it sounds, I'll use it or won't use it. But when I do one-liners, because one-liners like if you ever heard those your mama jokes, or like so and so's so dumb they would do this and that. Those kind of jokes were based off one-liner humor.
Okay.
It's like your mama jokes. One like the way your mama jokes are like your mama's so and so that she would. One of the oldest ones is like kick a can down the street. You ask her what she's doing, she says she's moving. See, that's too long. If you're going to word a long one, you have to make it sound good. You have to. Let me ask you this: if I were to say a one-liner, no bad language, but if I were to say a one-liner, would the algorithms pick it up? I don't want to get you a strike or anything.
Well, if when in doubt, don't say it.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Yeah,
Good point. No, good point. Good
that's
point.
always.
Yeah.
I used to always use that when I'm on other people's sites. I police
Mm-hmm.
myself as I'm on my own site because I'm like, hey, I'm not going to go to somebody
Yeah.
else's site and get them in trouble. You know, what I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to,
Yeah.
especially
Mhm.
if I'm a moderator on their site and I know like whatever I say is going to get
Mhm.
out there anyway, it's not going to be held back by
Mhm.
YouTube because I'm a moderator. My stuff goes
Mhm.
on. So I police
Yeah.
myself. You know, I don't go on other people's sites and go, oh, now I'm free. I can say what the hell I want. No, I don't do that. You
Mhm.
know, you just because
It's
again,
funny because like. Mhm. Mhm.
I mean,
Like
look. If we all get banned, then what have we accomplished? Okay, if we all get banned, we can't
Mhm.
get our message out there to people, then we've accomplished
Yeah.
nothing.
That's true.
You know, we have to be able to get our
Yeah.
message out there, and if you're going to put stuff out there that is going to get you a
Mhm.
strike or it's going to get you banned, and then what? You just cry
Yeah.
about it? That doesn't do any good. You didn't get your message out there.
Mhm.
How many people did while you're
Yeah.
off or suspended or whatever? How many people did you miss that you could have maybe talked to? That could have listened to what you were saying and possibly said,
Yeah.
let me think about that. I mean, nobody's just going to go, oh, okay, now I'm going to vote for Trump because I heard Jogger for 10 minutes. No, but the whole point of what we do here is to make people think. You know,
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
about this topic. Here's a different point of view than what you're used to hearing from like MSNBC or CNN. You know, or that you read in the
Mhm.
Washington Post or the New York Times. Here's a different point of view, and they
Yeah.
go, huh? I haven't heard that point of view. Let me think about that. You know, like I go on
Mhm.
Black YouTube. I watch a lot of Black first sites, and because it's a totally different perspective than mine. But I go to intelligent ones. You know, guys who aren't emotional, guys who are talking, research stuff, guys who do research. But I want
Mhm.
to hear a different perspective. I want to hear something that makes me think. That I go, huh? You know, maybe I have to get on the Google machine and look
Yeah.
something up. And that's what I like for people to do when they
Yeah.
come to this site. You know, if you're not a pro-Trump person or you're not a conservative or even a Republican, but maybe you come to the
Mhm.
site, you listen to something, and you say, huh, let me think about that. But if you're banned or if you get a
Mhm.
strike or you're suspended, how many people did you miss that you could have had a
Yeah.
conversation
No,
with?
that's true.
And for what? To
Yeah.
get
That's
some to
true.
get
That's very true.
and to do what? To get some clickbait? To be outrageous? To make
Mhm.
a point? Well,
Yeah.
you're not making any
Yeah.
points if you're not on their site. And
Mhm.
you know
No,
and
that's true.
people
That's true.
and you're not talking to anybody. You're not making any points.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
That's just how I see it.
No, that's true. Mhm.
Yeah.
Because like last time you said the one-liners were not like your last video. You said it wasn't the one-liners, right? It was like when your feed was like buffering really badly. But I try I haven't been putting that many one-liners
Oh
in the
no
chat.
no
In
no
fact,
no
I
no
have a
hold
really
no
good
no 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 that was my fault because what happened was I didn't I
Mhm.
there's a way I could have done it and I didn't do it but because the pictures I showed were off Washington Times off their site
Mhm.
but I guess for whatever
Mhm.
reason when I showed it it was pictures of kids and stuff not in a good way
Oh.
so
Mhm.
yeah and so because I got a
Mhm.
message from YouTube after I took the whole site I took the whole video down I got a message saying
Mhm.
it was a nice question. They didn't give me a strike or anything. They just said, "Did you have kids on your site?" And I'm like, "Oh wait, did I have kids on my site?" I go, "Oh shit, I did." So I said, "Oh fuck this." So I just deleted the
Mhm.
video. And then I came back on and I explained it
Yeah.
later on that night.
Mhm.
No, it wasn't your one-liners. It was my
Mhm.
fault. Okay, I should have known better
Mhm.
because
Oh.
but I thought,
Mhm.
I thought it was okay because I was just pulling off a Washington Times article. But still, you got to be careful. I
Mhm.
mean, there's things they don't want on there. It's like,
Yeah.
well, okay. And if I don't like their rules, I got a real simple thing I can do. I can just leave. I don't have to be here,
Mhm.
right? If I don't like their rules, I just leave.
Yeah.
No, YouTube is not holding a gun to my head to make me go on their channel and be upset because what I can or
Mhm.
cannot say. They're not saying, okay,
Yeah.
Jogger, you have to come to our channel and you have to follow our rules.
Mhm.
It's like, well, wait a second. I don't want to go to your channel and follow your rules. Well, they don't, they're not making me be here. Okay, I chose to
Mhm.
sign up for this. Okay, and I chose to sign up for their
Yeah.
rules. Now,
Yeah.
I'd like it if their rules are um, what's the word enforced uniformly across
Mhm.
all diversity of opinion, whether it be a left or
Mhm.
far left, far right, left, center right, center. I like the rules to apply to
Mhm.
everybody equally. Okay, so that
Yeah.
we all know what
Mhm.
the rules are. Not that you find out after the fact.
Yeah.
You find out after the fact because the terms of service is so vague and ambiguous that they can be interpreted by anybody and be kind of arbitrary and capricious. You know, you don't want that. They need to be specific.
Yeah.
As far as what you can and cannot say or can and cannot do. They're not because the people
Mhm.
who are going back and looking at it, like Mark Dice had a bunch of his demonetized that had been previously manually reviewed. He covered. Did you watch the show this morning, Mark Dice?
No, I didn't. It's in my
Yeah, what
It's
happened
in
was,
my
after Mark Dice went to he went to Trump's meeting at the White House with the other commentators, content creators, and
yeah.
he went after what's his name, that idiot from CNN. You
Oh,
know,
Acosta.
yeah, he went after
Yeah.
him pretty hard, and so then after that, somebody goes, "Oh, this guy's bad. You got to get rid of him." So even though he had previously submitted um, some of his older videos for manual review, like they demonetized it, then he asked for it to be manually reviewed, and they did, and then they approved it. Those same videos that had been previously manually reviewed were manually reviewed again, and this time they demonetized them again. So
Oh.
it needs to be uniform. I mean, look, I
Mhm.
understand. Look, I know what they're trying to do. They don't want a repeat of 2016. Okay, and
Mhm.
2016, the content creators were a good part of that. They're getting alternate versions of what the mainstream media was saying out there to people. They were fact checking the mainstream media.
Yeah.
Mark was fact checking him as good as anybody, and
Mhm.
that was really good. And people was like, "Wait, that doesn't make any sense." And then Mark would show why it didn't make any sense. And other content creators were doing the same
Mhm.
thing. Like, no, this doesn't make sense because of this, this, and this. And you're like, "Oh yeah, that's right." And so
Mhm.
and they didn't like that because you know
Yeah.
Ruben was out there, Sticks and Hammer was out there, Dice was out there, all those guys were out there, and they were getting lots of followers, and people were getting their news from other places than CNN and MSNBC. So they don't want that to
Yeah.
happen again. I get it.
Well, the funny thing is, yeah. Oh, yeah. But the funny thing is, because you would think that YouTube and mainstream media are competitors. You know, you would think that they would be competing for the audience. You know what I mean? And YouTube
Well, no,
competes with mainstream media by allowing.
YouTube is just going to suck them up into their platform. That's what they're doing right now.
Mhm.
That's why part of the reason they're giving mainstream media is not just to, okay, like they'll give mainstream media a higher list on like a search than they'll give Mark Dice. Okay, there's two reasons why they do that. One,
Mhm.
they don't want Mark Dice's comments out there for the public, but also because they're
Mhm.
sucking these guys, they're sucking these guys in, saying that they're trying to
Mhm.
show them you're getting more viewers over here than you're getting over there. And then once that starts happening,
Mhm.
right now YouTube is giving them the money to be on here. It's like a drug
Mhm.
dealer giving a potential drug addict free drugs. Well, at some point, the free stuff
Mhm.
ends, and they say, okay, now that you're getting more viewers over here on our platform than you're getting like on DirecTV, for instance, we want you to start
Mhm.
paying us. And then if they say no, we're not going to pay you, say, okay, fine, you're off, bye. It's like, oh shit, now okay, now we'll pay you.
Mhm.
So there's two reasons
Yeah.
for that. That's the
It,
second reason. That's the second reason.
you know what's interesting? Like Fox News, they've been at 3 point. I mean, like they've been at 3 million over 3 million subscribers for a long time. In the meantime, you look at CNN. I think CNN's like 6.8 million, and I think um, some of them are like 4 point. Last time I checked, like 4.5 million, and it's almost like they prop them up just to make
They
it out like
do.
they're more of
They do
the.
prop them up. They
Yeah.
do prop them. They put them on top. They put them on top. If you search, Mark Dice will say it. He'll put the exact title to a video he posted, the exact title, word for word,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll put it out there, and then he'll hit search on YouTube, and then
Mm-hmm.
here comes CBS, ABC, CNN, MSNBC. Here come their stories that are similar, but not exactly the same title as Mark Dice's title, and Mark finds his like on page 2 or page 3.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, of course, no, they're definitely propping them up without a doubt, and they're propping them up at the expense of other conservative content creators primarily. You know,
Yeah. I wonder. It's like I don't, I don't know how to like explain this, but or say this, but when the midterms were happening last year, I thought that I won't say, but I will say, certain special interest groups would have, these certain other groups like Antifa and all, kind of like harassing voters at the booths and things like that. I actually thought something like that was going to happen. And I was thinking, I wonder if something like that is still possible within the future. Like maybe even next year when people go to the polls to vote. I'm not saying it would happen, but would it? But the possibility certainly exists. especially in these in the Democrat-controlled states.
Well, well,
Where
well,
Antifa
well.
runs.
Well, I know, but hold on a second. Okay, think about that for a second. How's Antifa going to know the guy's a liberal or a conservative when they go into the polls? They start harassing people at the polls. I mean, these leftists aren't the leftists who run these states aren't going to want that. They're like, well, fuck. Like, okay, they know, like, say, 70% of the people in that district are going to vote Democrat, right? Well, here comes Antifa.
Yeah.
And they don't want them keeping people away from the damn polls. Those are their voters. So then you say, okay, maybe they'll do it like in red states. Well, good luck with that. You try doing that in Mississippi or whatever. Somebody's gonna jump down your shit. I mean, the cops are gonna come in, the state troopers are gonna show up. I mean, it's gonna be forget about it. It's not gonna happen. Plus, with early voting, I mean, how do you manage something like that? And if you're planning on doing it on the day of election day, you do it. First of all, they're not going to want you in a blue state because that's where their voters are, and you're going to keep voters away. So that's going to decrease. Even in a national election, they can say they won't be able to say, "Oh, we won the national, popular vote," because shit, Antifa was out there keeping our guys away from the polls. So then in the red states, they're going to have then the governors of those states, they're going to make sure the state troopers are out there in force, and it's going to be some skulls are going to get cracked. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. I mean, voting is pretty special in this country. Everybody takes it very seriously. Nobody's going to want to see anybody interfering with polling stations. That's
They just
that's not going to be a good day.
I think they just didn't they vote to recognize Antifa as a domestic terrorist group. But the thing too is, like, let's say, what if Antifa just changes their name and changes their logo? And it's like, then it's like they're back to square one trying to label them a domestic terrorist group. Like if they just like completely overhaul the entire organization altogether. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know, how would something like that happen? I mean, would they still be classified as a domestic terrorist group?
Well, I don't think you have to have a vote on it. I don't think anybody votes on it. I think it's either like the FBI labels people domestic terrorist groups. I think it's through the FBI, Department of Justice, or Homeland Security, or one of those outfits. I think they're the ones who would label someone to be a domestic terrorist group or not. And then once they're labeled as a domestic terrorist group, then there's all kinds of things you can do. I mean, what they ought to do is same thing Jeff Sessions did when he was in U.S. Attorney. He sued the Klan. See, that's how the Klan. It wasn't It wasn't the Spike Lee movie on how they got rid of the Klan. It was Jeff Sessions turned around and sued him, and now and he was successful. He got a huge ass judgment, and then he just went and grabbed all their assets because they're all non-exempt assets. These aren't personal assets of anybody. They're company assets, corporate assets, and he just started, grabbing their money and grabbing their assets and whatever buildings they had or meeting place. He just took all their money, just shut them down. That's how they got shut down. Just took all their money away. So then you could have somebody sue Antifa, and then take all their money and follow the money trail all the way where it goes. Sue whatever parent companies or parent corporations are running them. I mean, they're getting money from. So these kids are getting paid to go out there. These kids aren't out there because they're idealistic. Well, they probably are, but they signed up for it. But they're getting paid. Those people get paid to go to these rallies. They get bussed in. Their transportation's taken care of. They get paid to be there.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Andy No's lawyer handles this, because she said, I think what was the comment made? Like she was going to like sue everybody involved or something like that. But it's funny because I think that some people on the left were saying oh God, I forget who. There's so much news, Carl. I'm sorry. I try to cover certain things before I come on your show. It's like, was it Michelle Malkin set up a GoFundMe for him, and he had money pouring in like within the first, I think it was the first day.
Well,
people were like literally.
Yeah, if you're going to go after Antifa and who was it here? Solex is saying that it would be a problem because there's like no real leader. But there is a money source. There's a money trail. People are getting paid from somewhere. But if you're going to go after those people with the money, that's going to be your Soros people and those guys. You better have a shitload of money and a shitload in more than just one attorney. It better be some big ass law firm. You're going to take on people with money. Yeah. They got their law firms, plural. You better have a big law firm. Everybody says, well, gee, you ought to sue this or sue that. It's like, okay, you got like $1 million for me to hire, 4 staff attorneys, 8 paralegals, and buy 4 new copy machines for all the paper I'm going to be getting and printing out all the emails and stuff and the
Mhm.
digital discs
Mhm.
and going through all this shit. Well, no. Well, okay. Well, then have a nice
Mhm.
day. Because yeah, if you're gonna if it's gonna take a shitload of you gotta come with your A game, and that A game better be a shitload of attorneys and a shitload of staff,
Yep.
because you will get papered to
Mhm.
death. They will paper you to death. Okay, so
Yeah, and
that's
not
just
only
the way.
that, you got to find a law firm willing to take them on too.
Well, you can find a
You
law firm, but they're just gonna want a shitload of money because they realize what's coming back at them on the other side. Once you file that lawsuit, and here comes
know.
all the discovery requests, and here's the documents, and like you send a request for production of documents, they literally send you
Mhm.
a 10 by 15 room full of storage banker boxes stacked from floor to ceiling, 10 by 15, and then you have to
Mhm.
go through each of those
Mhm.
documents to find the one that's important. Good luck.
Mhm.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
mean,
It.
it takes a lot of
Mhm.
staff for that.
Mhm. So, Judicial Watch run. I've seen Judicial Watch run ads about like getting petitions signed to expose George Soros. I don't. I don't exactly know what they're trying to expose, but Judicial Watch runs those ads every once in a while. But
Well,
I'm
George
like,
Soros is not
how it.
George Soros is not hiding. I mean, if he's hiding in plain sight. I
Yeah.
mean, the companies that fund Antifa and stuff. I mean, they're pretty well known, and they know it leads back to him and
Mhm.
his friends. So he's not hiding anything. He's like, here I am,
Yeah.
come at me. You
Well,
know.
it's like I mean, yeah, the left they have all the money. They have most of the money. It's like on our side, we have just enough money to challenge the left, but what we have on our side is the truth, and we have, you know, we have facts. But the thing is, we got to get people to open their eyes to those facts, and that in itself is a challenge. I mean, it's funny because every time I try to talk to somebody about certain things, yes, I do use my Hispanic side. I have to, because sometimes if I don't, it's going to be like, well, white person's trying to say this, or and I'm like, well, sorry, I'm half Latin, I'm half Cuban, so half of me is trying to talk to you. You know what I'm saying? And get you to understand. No, I know. I hate to say it like that, Carl. I do, but it's probably the one thing that's allowed me to have conversation with people. The fact that I am. I'm sorry. I hate identity politics. I do, but this is where the left has put us, and you have to fight fire with fire. It's like right now in AOC's district, the best person to get her out of office is another woman of color, and I forget what her name is, but I hope she can get AOC's district. I mean, I think she'd be a better choice than AOC. I mean, I don't know if she's a rhino Republican or not, but anybody's got to be better than AOC right now. But anyway, what I was saying was, um, and I know someday, like when I talk to some people about this stuff, somebody is probably going to, raise Cain. They're going to say this, they're going to say that, but it's like, what do? You can't just sit by anymore and do something. You got to have the conversation with people, I mean, there's appropriate times to have it and not have it, but, if we don't have these conversations, how do we change minds? Like you were saying,
Well,
I
no, and
mean,
that's the whole point, right?
know,
You gotta have the ability to project these conversations out there and have a reasonable, like Six and I, a very reasonable conversation. Tim Pool, a very reasonable conversation. Mark Dice, a very reasonable
yeah.
conversation he has with people. It's reasonableness, and it's just where the things make sense. And I try to do the same thing here. I try to be reasonable. Okay, what's reasonable? What makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
More importantly, what doesn't make any sense and why? I don't just say, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I tell you why it doesn't make any sense. And Dice, Pool, H.A. Goodman does that. H.A. Goodman does a really good job of that. Okay, look, this is why, like, when he talks
Yeah.
about, he goes, okay, so like, I love his line. It's so great. Okay, so let me get this straight. So the Russians hacked the DNC to expose the fact that the Democrats were ripping off Bernie Sanders. He goes, doesn't make any sense. He goes, why would they do that?
Yeah.
He goes, no. He goes, what happened was it was a DNC staffer. Tulsi Gabbard resigned from DNC because of the same reason, because she saw they were ripping off Bernie Sanders. She actually resigned. Well, I'm sure there were a few people in the DNC who were pro Bernie Sanders and saw what was going on. And so they said, they
Yeah.
said, fuck this, and they leaked it. They shot it off to WikiLeaks, and WikiLeaks published it. So it wasn't the Russians going to go get it and then saying, okay, Bernie Sanders got cheated. No, it was H.A. Goodman goes, that doesn't make any sense. He goes, just think about that for a second. And so when you think about it, he goes, you say to yourself, yeah, you know what? That doesn't make any fucking sense. So, so, but
Yeah.
it was obviously a DNC staffer leaked it to WikiLeaks, and then they try to make up this whole thing. Oh, the Russians did it because that was a narrative. Trump's in bed with the Russians, and it was just more of a play on that, which is bullshit. And
Mhm.
and now the nice thing is we're about to find out just how full of shit it was, um,
Mhm.
because you now got Bill Barr and Durham going after these guys. And see, where's that story? Where is it? Where'd it go?
I just don't see Obama and Hillary. They're never going to jail. I mean, Comey might, Brennan might. Some of these, like maybe some of the lower operatives of the coup d'état will go to jail. But I don't. I just don't see Hillary Clinton or Obama going to jail. I mean,
No, they're
I
too.
think the
They're
best
too big.
thing,
No, they're not going to jail.
yeah, the only thing that Trump can hope to do, that we can hope to do, is steer our country back to a constitutional republic. To me, that should be the main focus. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to see people, held accountable, but to me, that distracts from what we're trying to do. We're trying to get our country back to what the founding fathers, wanted us, where they wanted us to be. You
Well,
know,
I'll be honest
it,
with you.
it,
Oh wait, no. Can I tell you something? I think we're
yeah,
where
yeah.
they. I think we're where they thought we would be. If that makes any
Mm-hmm.
sense. I think they saw that
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't going to stay the same. It wasn't the population wasn't going to be. You got to remember the population they were in had just come out of a war. Everybody was unified, right? We just fought the
Yeah,
greatest empire the world had ever seen, and we won. And so everybody was really unified and
yeah,
in it together. But they knew that over time, that generation would eventually die, right? By the 1820s, when they were all dying off, Washington and Jefferson, they were all on their deathbeds by the 1820s. They were all gone, and they knew that. And they were
mm-hmm.
smart, and they put this system in place to recognize that we weren't always going to be unified. There wasn't always going to be this external force to hold us together. It's like with the Democrats, they were saying, "Oh, Trump's going to say something bad and unify us again." Like the left, like the Democratic Party, you got AOC over here, and then Pelosi and the corporate Democrats over there, and they need something. The only thing that unifies them is their hatred for Donald Trump. But if he's not pissing you off on a given day, then you see just how fractured they actually are. And when they can't agree to even impeach the guy, then it shows you really, really how fractured they are. That's why Pelosi had that meeting with AOC and friends today, where they try to, okay, look, because they're going to be off for 6 weeks. So there's not a lot going
Mm-hmm.
on. And plus, they just did that budget deal where they don't have to worry about the spending cap until the summer of 2021 after the election.
Mm-hmm.
So the Democrats, Pelosi got with Trump and said, look, let's take this. And Schumer too is like, okay, look, and McConnell even was like, okay, let's get this shit out of our face until after the general election. So they got rid of all the spending caps and all that shit. You don't have to worry about the government shutdown anymore. So it's like, okay, and a lot of Republicans voted against it, but a lot of Republicans voted for it
Yeah,
too because they just want to get this shit out of the way.
mm-hmm.
So the founding fathers
Yeah,
understood that there wasn't going to be some external threat to unify us. It wasn't going to be like a British Empire or War of 1812 or the World War
mm-hmm.
II or something. That we were going to have to
Yeah,
figure out how to work this out on our own when we don't have somebody else pushing us together. And I think the system they put in
mm-hmm.
place was actually pretty good. I mean, look, you get the AOCs, and we said this before. She's a flash in the pan. And I got an argument with some guy. I think I kicked him off my site because he was yelling. He called in. And he was yelling and screaming at me. And well,
Oh
you better
wow.
no. Yeah, he was. I can't remember what his name was, but whatever his name was, he calls in and it was a call in, and he's a sub on the site,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about AOC, and I said, look, again, don't worry, don't get all caught up in this AOC shit. This is a few months ago. I go, she just got elected. I go, she doesn't have a lot of power. He goes, yeah, but she's out there and she's dangerous. He goes, you need to do something, and I'm like, well, fuck, what Like, what am I supposed to do? You need to get on her ass more. You need to jump down her shit more. And I'm like, look, she's going to take care of herself. I go, and I even told him back
No.
then. I said, if you think Pelosi's going to put up with this woman trying to take over the House, I go, let me tell you about Pelosi. She didn't get that job by being nice. Okay, she's the head bitch
Yeah.
in charge over there. And you think some young 28, 29-year-old girl is going to come in there and usurp her power after all the shit she went through to get to where she is? I go, you got nothing coming. That ain't going to happen. I go,
Yeah.
and you may not see it, but she's
Yeah.
working behind the scenes to like make sure this girl is marginalized, and she's working on it. Now I go, it takes a few minutes, and I go, that's the founding fathers. Everything takes time. Well, you better get on her ass, and you. So finally, I just hung up on him, and then he put something really stupid in the chat room. I forgot what it was. It was obnoxious, and I said, well, hey man, thanks for playing. Boom, just 86 them. But I mean, it's the founding fathers knew we'd go through times where things looked like the shit's going to hit the fan. You know, the Civil War, obviously, I don't think they envisioned that necessarily, but we got through it. We had the same form of government before the Civil War as we did after it. That's pretty fucking good. Other countries can't say that. Think about that for a second. And then like take the 60s. Like you think things are bad now. Look at the 60s. You know, buildings are getting blown up. I mean, you got riots in the streets. You got whole cities being torn apart. The National Guard, the U.S. Army is being called in to maintain order. Well, that's pretty fucked up. But we got through that somehow, and we ended up in the 70s, everybody doing coke and disco music. Okay, I mean, we got through it. So the same thing with with what's going on right now. We get through things somehow. It
Yeah.
manages. I don't know
Yeah.
why, but it manages to happen. And I think it's because of that whole system they put in place, where the reasonable argument will eventually win out. It just doesn't look like. Look. Let's be honest. They just took office January. This is only July. That was 6 months
Yeah.
ago. 6 months ago. I mean,
Yeah.
shit. The world. I mean, everybody's like, oh no. It's like it was. It's only been 6 months. Okay. Yeah. People will flash up fast, and then reasonable people. It takes longer for reasonable people to bring those people back down. Okay. It just always has. So don't. It's like when somebody hires me on a lawsuit, and I tell them, I say, look, things are going to look, there are going to be times in the middle of this lawsuit that goes on for like say 2 years when things look really really good, and I go, don't whatever you do, don't get too excited, and I said then things are going to look like it's really really bad, it's not going our way, and I tell them don't get too down. I go, the main thing is just kind of try to stay steady all the way through it, and kind of you want to be steady all the way through, and at the end of the day you want to be on the uphill path. You want to be going up like you're winning. At the end of
Yeah.
it. Same
Yeah.
thing here. And the founding fathers envisioned
Yeah.
we'd have times like this, and they knew, but they put the system in place to be able to handle it. So that's my opinion. Carl's opinion.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But I
Oh
just
hey. Oh
think
hey.
that
I did. Oh hey.
I
Oh
mean.
hey. Hold it. I didn't tell you that every
Mhm.
legitimate phone call, like a non-troll phone call, you get a free Carl's Opinion
Uh-huh.
YouTube channel hat.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. See, this is
Cool.
the one. Like here,
I
I put it on the camera. It'll come up in a second. Oh, hold on. Let me switch it over so you can see it better. So every legitimate phone caller to Carl's Opinion YouTube channel gets you a free Carl's Opinion YouTube channel Trump 2020 hat made by GI USA. USA. Yay. Da-dunk. Da-dunk. See? So every legitimate phone caller gets a free Carl's Opinion hat. So do me a favor. Did I already mail you something?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think so.
if you
But
want now,
what?
if you don't now, if you want now, if you don't want to give me your address, that's fine. But
Mhm.
if you want to mail it to you, I take care of the shipping and handling. Then just email me. You have my email address, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Well, if you don't, it's
Yeah,
right.
I have it.
It's on the screen right now. Email me your address,
Mhm.
and then I will mail you a free Carl's Opinion YouTube channel hat.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
I
Awesome. Cool.
I forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show. But I'm mentioning now. So every legitimate phone caller gets a free Carl's Opinion YouTube Trump 2020 hat.
Cool. Awesome.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, Trump. It's you can never we can never stress how important it is for voters to turn up in droves. I mean, it's I mean, I think Carl. I think the enthusiasm. I mean, I know some days I feel like the enthusiasm's there. It's not there, but when you see those Trump rallies, to me, it's a sign that people at least you know, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if we can say it's going to be an example of what the enthusiasm is going to be when 2020 comes around. You know, but I hope people, you know, understand that we have got to get our friends and families to the polls. I mean, like I said, I drove 4 friends. I drove a few friends to the polls, didn't even charge them gas money. Because they were like, well, you know, Trump's not on the ballot, yada, yada. I said, dude, guys, I will
Dude.
take you. And
Yeah.
and my friend, and the funny thing too is my other friend who, you know, my other friend who, you know, he's a bit of a progressive, you know. He's like, dude, I hope you know I'm not voting for your guy. I said, dude, I don't care. You need a ride, I'll take you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, the reason why I'm saying that is because, you know, the reason why I'm saying it like that is because, you know, I wouldn't want him to vote for someone that I'm voting for, you know, because that's one of the beautiful things about our democracy is we can vote for who we want to vote for. You know, a
Right.
constitutional republic, I should say.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. No, it's
and
totally cool.
You know, and there's a website that I'm actually going to look at because I want to get a full on education about our Constitution and why we are. You know, I mean, like I said, I've always understood why we have one. You know, but and there's people out there like me, but people got to know why there's a Constitution. They need to take the time to educate themselves, even if it's a free course. You know, and there are plenty of free courses out there. I mean,
Yeah.
take advantage of the things that are available to you, you know, and you know, it's like the funny thing too, like, and speaking of taking advantage of, like, right, I'm surprised that some of these people, like on the left, like how they talk about, well, we should make things better for this person, that person. Why don't they go start a GoFundMe? You know, I mean, I've seen, you know, one of my friends, you know, he donates to charities. You know, he's a progressive, but he donates to charities, you know, and I commend him, and he has my respect because he's not just sitting here talking about it. He's doing something about it. He's taking advantage of the fact that capitalism, you know, that we have a society that allows stuff like this to happen, you know, and he's doing something, you know. He's not just complaining and crying. I got more respect for a progressive who actually puts their money where their mouth is. They don't talk the talk, they walk the walk, you know.
Right.
And I got way more respect for people like that than I do for somebody who just cries about, I want free this and I want open borders. You know, those people don't have my respect. The progressives that have my respect are the ones who actually get out and do, you know, they fight for what they believe. Even if it's something I don't agree with, I admire their their ability to, you know, to take the time to do what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? I know it's silly the way I say it.
No, I know. No, I know
you
what
know,
you're.
but
No,
I mean,
look. No, look. Okay, if you believe in what you're doing, and now you can't just be pure emotion, right? The whole facts versus feelings.
yeah,
If you do the research,
yeah,
okay, and you look shit up, and you say, okay, this is why I'm in favor of this policy, and this is why it's going to work, and this is how I'm going to implement it, and this is the end game, and this is how it's going to look after 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, and then you bring
mm-hmm.
that game. Hey, I got no problem with you. You know, for all I know, you're right.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't, shit. You know,
yeah,
because
exactly.
then if
Yeah,
if I don't have a better argument for it, well, then the best argument should win. If I can't come up with better facts
yeah,
and say, hey, look, these are the facts that's going to show this. It's like the $15 minimum wage. It's like they say it's going to increase people's wages. Okay, but is it going to increase their spending power? Their purchasing power.
mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
at the end of the day,
yeah,
no. Actually, it actually decreases it. Again, it doesn't break even. It doesn't decrease it a lot. Only 0.1%, 0.1%. But still, it didn't
mm-hmm.
increase it any. It doesn't increase your spending power because again, you're working at a restaurant. You get $15 an hour, but then when you go to the grocery store to buy groceries, the guys over there are making $15 an hour, and the grocery store has to raise prices. So you're paying more for the food
Yeah,
because the other guys are making $15 an hour too. Well, then nobody.
yeah,
Then we at the end of the day, we all break even again. After
yeah,
6 years of this, we're all back to square one. And then you have people like
mm-hmm.
Presley coming out. I think it was no Talib comes out and says, "Well, it should be $20 an hour." Well, why not 30? I mean, shit. I mean, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Why shouldn't I pay
Well, stuff like
20? Why shouldn't I pay
mm-hmm.
$20 an hour for somebody to do nothing more than answer the phone? I should pay that person $20 an
Yeah.
hour. Then then how much do I pay my paralegal, who's doing a hell of a lot more than just answering the phone? And then because now I want to
Yeah.
put a couple of dollars in my pocket, maybe. My staff always makes more money than I do. It's funny, but anyway, I want to put a couple of bucks in my pocket, maybe. Well, now I got to raise prices on the people hiring me. Well, shit. Well, now those
Yeah.
people, whatever they're doing for a living, they're going to demand higher wages so they could pay for things like hiring an attorney or anything else, or they're going to have to raise prices. They have their own business on their consumers. Well, at the end of the day, we're all going spiraling upwards. What happens? Then you get inflation, and then when you get high inflation, then the Fed says, "Whoa, put the brakes on." Then you raise interest rates, and that decreases jobs. And then
Yeah.
those people who had those jobs that
Mhm.
are making $20 an hour, suddenly they get laid off because the company can't expand and the company has to actually,
Yeah.
cut back. Well, fuck.
Yeah.
And then we're all fucked. You know.
Well, it's again, it's the millennial generation that doesn't understand that. I mean, they. I mean, I know from just living life that because you can't affect it. If you give money to people, it doesn't effectively. It's not that to me. That's to get people to spend money is not an effective way. Like putting money in the hands of people is not the best way to help. Like say help with the like help people get by, because people get tempted to spend it. They tend to go out their budget, you know, and, people who are frugal with their money, people who understand that, well, gee, I got a family to raise. I mean, I don't have a family, but, people who do, they understand that, well, I got kids to take care of. I got to put food, I got to take my kids to the doctors, and and because most of the younger generation don't really talk about starting families anymore.
No, they
I
can't
mean,
afford it.
my goddaughter's more, yeah, and my goddaughter, it's like I ask her, "What are you doing with your future?" And she's like, she tells me, "Oh wait, quiet. I'm trying to see how many likes I got on my latest post." And I'm like, "Really?" No,
Really? Yeah.
I'm like, "Really? Come on."
Right.
And that's the same mindset with a lot of these kids. They don't think about growing old, and they don't. See, people think conservatism is, you know, conservatism is what works. You preserve what works. You know what works. You stick with what works. In I mean, conservatism has many different definitions, but they all have one thing in common, and that's they preserve what works. I mean, you could say conservatives. I mean, there's different levels of conservatism. We all know this, but to me, I like the conservatism where everybody, we have the system of government. We have limited government. We have free markets. We have the ability to choose. We keep government out of our lives as much as possible. We have the ability to, freely talk about ideas. I mean, those are just some of the few examples that, that I'm talking about,
Right.
but, I just don't know. I mean, it's like when you let something go on for far too long, like the right has done, like the conservatives have done. Well, let me take that back. Not the conservatives, just common sense people in general. Common sense people in general have just let things go on for far too long, and once they saw it was getting bad, they're like, wait, whoa, we can't do this. So Trump gets into office, and now here we are trying to reverse, decades of things that have been, done to lead us up to where we could have been had Hillary gotten elected. You know, I mean, I mean, and the funny thing is we got such a short time to get there. Because people think once Trump gets elected, it's over. It's not over. This, I won't say, this exchanging of ideas. Let me phrase it like that. This exchanging of ideas to preserve our constitutional republic is going to go on my lifetime, your lifetime. I mean, it's not just going to end if Trump gets reelected. If anything, it buys us more time to try and convince people, about the better ideas and the things that work. You know what I mean? And that's where we as people come in. People like us, people like you, people like Derek Grayson, Stexenhammer, just people who have the knowledge that are willing to share it with other people.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd like to think we're doing good. I mean, like I said, I mean,
We are.
obviously we are, but
No, we are doing good.
are
Look,
we, are we doing it?
we are doing good,
Yeah.
and it is effective, and obviously it was effective. If it wasn't so effective, they wouldn't be trying to suppress us. Like say we were just a bunch of clowns, and people looked at us and laughed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they wouldn't give a shit about us,
Yeah.
right? But obviously they knew
Yeah.
we were effective, and it wasn't because of a couple Russian troll farm, Facebook ads. No, that wasn't it at all. And they know it. They know
Mm-hmm.
it was people like us. I wasn't out there. I didn't have a site at the time, but it was the Mark Dices, the Sticks and Hammers, the H.A. Goodmans. It was those people out there, talking this stuff. The Dave Rubins, those guys. Those guys are all out there all over the place. So I mean, and a whole host of others. So I mean, and they did make a difference,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously they did because if
Yep.
they didn't, nobody would give a shit. Nobody would give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah. That I want to see that. I didn't get to see it yet, but that interview that Steven Crowder did with Tim Pool, from what I understand, that was like one of the most respectful debate. Like like they had. From what I understand, they had a great conversation. But again, Tim Pool only debates conservatives because conservatives don't
Yell and
demonize
scream at
him.
him, right? They don't yell and scream at him. No, they demonize him now. They demonize him now. They talk shit about him all the time, and he's like, I don't know what. And then he gets pissed off, and they call Tulsi Gabbard a right winger, and she's like, no, she's not a right winger. I don't know where you people are saying that. She's anti-war. She's anti-U.S. involvement in foreign wars. That doesn't make her a right winger. That used to be
Yeah.
something the left always jumped up and down about. But Obama kind of killed that whole story
Yeah.
when he invaded Libya and destroyed the entire country. I mean, he took
Yeah.
a country that was pretty stable. He had a dictatorship, but is it better now or worse? I mean, by every metric, it's a hell of a lot worse. There's an
Yeah.
it's funny because if that had been a Republican president that caused that disaster, the news would be covering this
Mm-hmm.
all the time. There's plenty of stories you could send war correspondents over there right now, and you could cover war, you could cover battle every single day over there, and all the politics that's involved in
Mm-hmm.
that. It's really crazy, and the warlords and this militia and that militia, but nobody's covering it. The mainstream media is not covering it because why? Because if they cover the story, the question is going to be from everybody watching is, really, how did it get like that? And then you have to go back to Obama and Clinton. Uh, I don't, I can say Biden just because it's 2020 and Biden's running, but I don't think Biden had anything to do with it. I don't think Biden had a lot to do with a lot of shit in Obama's administration. To be honest with you, I don't think he trusted him to do anything because he
Mm-hmm.
thought he was an idiot. But anyway, but if you go back to see what
Yeah.
Obama and Clinton did, you'd have to ask, how did they get like that? It's like, oh, President Obama. Well, who was president when this started? Oh, President Obama. Who's Secretary of State? Oh, Hillary Clinton. It's like, oh, well, what do they do? Well,
Mm-hmm.
they beefed up this stupid story saying that Gaddafi was getting ready to blow up Benghazi and kill a whole bunch of people. It could be a humanitarian crisis, and so we have to go and invade the country and depose him, not knowing or caring what came next. Okay, so of course they're
Mm-hmm.
not going to cover that, but there's battles every single day there. People are shooting each other. There's like real shit going on there every day in the politics
Yeah.
with the Gulf states versus Saudi Arabia versus Iran versus who versus whatever. I mean, there's a lot of politics going on there too. And and Trump was talking to that one guy, the warlord. I don't know, the one general that was used to be in Gaddafi's army, and but they're not going to cover it because you're going to have to ask, well, how did it get like that? And that
Yeah.
comes right back
Oh
to
yeah.
President
Yeah.
Obama and right back to Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who laughed about the fact that
Yeah.
they took him out and chopped him up and shot him. She thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
He's dead. He's gone. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, this is a really sick,
Well,
twisted person.
well, it's like when Bush, when George W. Bush went into Iraq. He
That,
went into Iraq knowing that Saddam had he didn't have any. Well, I don't think they had any chemical weapons. I mean,
no, they had
he,
gotten
he
rid. No,
was,
we
he
no,
seemed,
they got rid of all the chemical. Everything was gone. There were no chemical weapons. There were no nuclear weapons.
yeah,
They found nothing. They found nothing. We own that
yeah,
country. We went everywhere in that country in the world to go look for it. And after 2 years, the one analyst came back and said, I remember when he came. I can't remember who it was. He came back and he goes, "Well, I've been there for 2 years, and guess what? There wasn't any. That was it. There wasn't
mm-hmm.
any. There was. He never had any.
Yeah,
He destroyed everything. He was obeying all the regulations. He was allowing all the inspections, everything,
mm-hmm.
and he had nothing. Now he was trying to bluff.
Yeah,
Here's what Saddam was trying to do. He was trying to make people think he still had some, but he figured he knew that we knew he didn't have any, but he was trying to like make the Iranians think he still had some to keep the Iranians off his ass. Okay, but he knew we knew he didn't have any, and that's what he was. So he couldn't understand what the fuck was going on. He goes, "You know, I don't have any. You know, I destroyed it all. Period. Now I gotta talk a little shit because I gotta keep the Iranians off my ass." And I picked up a story on that. In fact, today, let me go find it real quick. Where was it?
Well, we didn't pull out of Afghanistan. I don't think we pulled out of Iraq. At least not fully. I don't think.
No, we still
I
no.
don't know where how.
You know, we still have people there. Here's a story here from the Wall Street Journal, and that should be coming. That'll come on your screen here in about 25 seconds. Let's see. Let me pull this over a little bit more.
Oh, while you're bringing that up, did you hear about when China talked or when Trump talked about what was it, that there may or may not be an investigation against Google with China?
No, I didn't hear that.
Just if you've heard of that.
No, well, tell me about it. What happened?
Well, I was watching it. What was it today? It was like, I guess they who was it? Oh, Golden State Times was covering it. They were talking about how I think, what was it, like China was I guess they were trying to make like a search engine, or they're making a search engine or something to, you know, like for China's standards for, you know, like control the flow of information. I'm sorry, Carl, I don't know the fancy terms to describe all this sometimes. But they like the flow of information, but for China's standards and things like that. And what was it? Something about, I saw it earlier today, but I guess it was something about Trump. One of Trump's
Wait, hold on. Okay, D.A. Archer writes. He's talking about chemical weapons in Iraq. D.A. Archer writes, "It was blown up and much by my friends and many who died from exposure to it." Yeah, I was talking about that. I think D.A. was on the site the other night, in fact, when I was talking about that also, and which agrees with what D.A. just put in here, and was that when we went into Iraq in the first Gulf War, we we blew up a lot of his chemical weapons storage facilities, but I guess we didn't use enough heat on it to like wipe it out completely, and so a lot of it escaped into the air, and that whole Gulf War syndrome thing the troops came back with, I think they attribute a lot of that to the fact that that chemical stuff got into the air and zapped a bunch of our guys, and they caught low levels of it or even high levels of it. But yeah, he says, DA writes, "It was blown up and much of it by my friends and many who died from exposure to it." Yeah. So yeah, the first Gulf War, we took care of all his chemical weapon stockpiles.
Yeah. Because I remember Saddam was, because he fired missiles back during the Gulf War. He retaliated by firing Scud missiles into Israel.
Well, he was trying to bring Israel.
Remember,
he was trying to bring Israel into the fight. In other words, he was trying to get a retaliation from Israel to attack Iraq because remember George H.W. Bush had brought the Saudis and the Syrians, as well as the Gulf states, in on our side to fight against Saddam Hussein. And so Saddam Hussein knew that if the Israelis became part of our alliance, our coalition, that a lot of those Arab states would then pull out. And they'd say, no, we don't want to be fighting on the same side with Israel. So H.W. Bush and the Israelis showed a lot of restraint because imagine they were having Scud missiles landing in their, on their country. We sent those Patriot anti-missile defense systems to shoot them down, but they were still raining down on Israel proper. And I think there was even a correspondent that got caught up in it for CNN. I can't remember the chick's name. I'm an '80s guy. Sorry, the woman's name from that was there at the time. But yeah, I mean, they showed a lot of restraint because we said, "Oh, we'll take care of it." We never put enough guys or assets on taking out his Scud missile aside. Well, there were mobile missile platforms, so they could be moved around pretty quickly. It was hard to pin them down at any given time.
Carl, let me ask you a question. Now, if you don't want to answer it, I understand, I respect it. But why do so many people blame things on the? I have to say, like the Jews. Why is that? I never understood that.
Why?
What is the reason behind all of that?
Reason behind what?
Like everybody, like well, like it's like they blame I don't know, because like sometimes in like people respond in comments like like well because like they accuse Trump of being like a puppet of like Jew like
Of Israel, being a
I
puppet of
don't know how to
Israel.
explain. Yeah,
Because
like of
well, first of all, he's very pro-Israel. Now,
yeah
and then
yeah
well, you have a lot of people who are okay. Here's the deal. Okay, you have some ethnic groups in this country who look up at other ethnic groups and are very jealous and envious of them. And there are some ethnic groups
hmm
in this country who look up at, say Caucasian European people and say, "Oh, you got this because of this conspiracy or that conspiracy or this privilege or that privilege." Then it's
hmm
funny, then you have some Caucasians who detest people from other ethnic groups looking at them and claiming they have things they don't deserve to have. And you have those same Caucasians who don't like that happening to them, then look up at Jewish people and say the same fucking things about them, which is freaking hilarious and
hmm
sad and crazy. So
yeah
why? I do not know the answer to that question. If you go by IQ,
hmm
that might explain something. But being jealous of somebody who does better than you, who's smarter than you, who makes more money than you, well, tough shit.
hmm
I mean, look,
yeah
Asians people from certain parts of Asia are going to be smarter than me. Okay. Well,
hmm
what am I going to do about that? Well, I can't do anything about that. Am I going to cry about it? No. It just means I have to work harder. You know,
yeah
European Jews are generally going to be smarter than I am by average. What am I supposed to do about that? Am I supposed to cry? No, it means I got to work harder. Tough shit. It's the way it is.
hmm
If
yeah
you believe in
yeah
evolution, you don't believe in God, blame Darwin. If you believe in God, I guess you can get mad at God. But other than that, instead of getting
hmm
mad, just work harder than the guy above you, and maybe you'll do better.
yeah
I've always said,
yeah exactly hmm
I've always said this. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I'm the hardest working guy in the room, and that's generally how I've won
yeah
most of my
hmm
cases. I outwork other people. I outwork smarter people
yeah
than I am.
hmm
Okay, and
yeah
that's how I've
hmm
always won. I've always been the underdog,
yeah
all the time, every time.
hmm
But I just outwork them,
yeah
and I win. So
hmm
why they're saying all this
yeah
shit about him in Israel, I don't know, and I really don't give a shit. Sanders was out on the
yeah
campaign trail. In fact, I'll pull this story up. Thanks for the nice segues. You gave me like 3 segues tonight, so thank you.
oh,
Well,
no
I had these stories in the queue. All these stories that you said, well, what about
worries.
this? I had them in the queue, and I just said, oh, let me just pull this one up. So I'll pull this one up. Let's see here.
hmm
Where is it? Sanders. Where is he? There
I
we
just
go.
I know I talk about them a lot, but it'd be interesting to know what the Mercers like, like see what they're, like what they're up to, because it's like everything they're doing points to a pro-nationalist agenda, or at least along those lines. But it's like, it's almost like to the point you can't research them anymore because they don't, if anything, if anybody reports on them, it's
Okay.
like liberal.
This is what I said the other night because I did a big story on AOC. Well, a big story on Tlaib, Rashida Tlaib, and
hmm
Ilhan Omar. And I did a big
hmm
story on all their anti-Semitism, you know. And I said, okay, I
hmm
tell you what, if you're anti-Semitic, I tell you what, leave this site now. Go over to the Justice Democrat site. Go find their websites, Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib's website, and donate money to them. And say, hey, I'm on your side. I agree with everything you say. I'm with you. I go, those are your heroes. Those are the people you should be following. So if you're anti-Semitic, that's who you're with. You're with Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. That's the face of your
hmm
beliefs. So if you want to be
Yeah.
like that, that's the same. You're in that crowd. You're with the jihadists. You are a jihadist.
Yeah.
And if you get mad at the
Yeah.
jihadists, tough shit. You should convert to Islam
hmm
and then go hang out with Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, and that's it. Now, if you're not
Yeah. Did
anti-Semitic,
you see that?
now hold on. If you're not
Mm-hmm.
anti-Semitic, then you should hang out with Donald Trump because he's not anti-Semitic
Yeah.
either. And you should probably hang around this
Yeah.
site. It's a pretty good site.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
oh,
Hey,
Oli,
Call's
oh,
Opinion's the best YouTube channel ever.
hey, all right, that's
But
cool. I'll go with that.
there's Lee.
Yeah, I'm about to say hey to
Um,
him. Let me just jump over to that.
but did you see that video of Rashida Tlaib getting escorted out of some building? It's like
Oh,
they're just sitting there
back in
singing.
2016. Yeah, you missed. I covered all
Yeah,
that the last week or so, man. You missed all those great
I'm
shows.
like,
Yeah, I covered
mm,
that. I covered the video and
was she
everything.
arrested?
No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no. She was protesting at a Trump rally. I think Solik said it was actually a business meeting he was doing with like business leaders, and she showed up with like 15 other protesters, and she was all protesting, and you should have seen her. She looked like some adolescent. I mean, this woman just 2 years later is now in Congress, and she was, and so the security is pulling her out, and she's bouncing up and down and yelling and screaming, fuck you, fuck yourself," and she's like a big fat pig. I mean, a big fat pig jumping up and
Yeah.
down, which is really disgusting when you see it. It's like, ugh. It's like, ugh, I don't want to look at that. Everything's jiggling in the wrong places. It's like, ew. But anyway, so then somebody yells, "Get a job," and I'm thinking like he's to blame because
Mm-hmm.
obviously she said, "Yeah, I should get a job. I think I'll run for Congress," and she did, and she won. So, but yeah, so,
Yeah.
but yeah, she looked like a crazy person, and Trump even said that because
Yeah.
I think she's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that tweet that he sent out about them, like where he or that thing where he said, if they don't like it, they can leave. To me, that had 3D chess written all over it because he actually lumped them in with the moderate Democrats, and he kind of forced the moderate Democrats to defend them. And Section Hero was talking about this, and it's
Well, yeah,
like,
that
well,
well,
now
that
he's got to.
lasted until the send them back thing, and then they all got see like we were talking about earlier. They need something to unify around, so they unified around him saying like send them right. Then they forced the mods to defend them, and and I'm
Uh-huh.
sure Pelosi hated doing that. I'm sure that sucked for her because she hates those women with a passion. And then,
Yeah.
but then the Mueller hearing came to save the day, and that turned out to be a complete fucking disaster for the Democrats. I mean, it was obvious this man was
Yeah.
not. This man couldn't even run his own mouth, let alone run an investigation. He was not in charge of anything. I mean, if he was in charge of anything,
Yeah.
he was like a train wreck. And then the best question, didn't get a lot of coverage, was who was it? God, I think it was Gohmert. Gohmert asked him, "Who wrote that speech you gave when you held that press conference after the report came out?" He goes, "Who wrote that speech for you?"
Mm-hmm.
And so, the old man, H.A. Goodman does a really good impression of Mueller, by the way. If you want to listen to him, he does a
Mm-hmm.
great impression of Mueller, like, "Hey, what are you doing? Oh, what are you doing? Get off my lawn. So, get off my
Yeah.
lawn, and what do you want? Where am I? And so I did a halfway
Yeah.
decent impression Wednesday night, but he definitely did a better one. But, it was like, and so Gomer goes, well, who wrote that speech you gave, that 9-minute speech you gave back in May?
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of just saying, "Well, I wrote it," he says, "Well, I'm not going to answer that." And Gomer goes, "Well, I guess that's an answer in of itself. I guess that means you didn't write it, because otherwise you'd just say, 'Yeah, I wrote it,' but
Mm-hmm.
obviously he didn't." And you can tell by the way he's answering those questions, he didn't know anything. He didn't know who Fusion GPS was. He didn't know Chris. And he had no idea Glenn Simpson. He says, "Well, it wasn't my purview to look into, the Steele dossier and everything." I mean, shit, man, that's part of the FISA court warrant. His job was to look into Russian interference in the election. Well, you didn't have to look very far. Foreign Russian interference in the election. The Russians gave Steele the information. Steele passed it on to Fusion. They gave it to the Clinton campaign. Well, there's Russian interference. There was a Russian disinformation
Yeah.
campaign. Putin's main goal was to fuck up our election. Okay, he gave an interview saying, "Well, yeah, we would have preferred to have Donald Trump, but then again, they knew that if Clinton got elected, they had her bought and paid for. I mean, all they ever needed to
Mm-hmm.
do if they needed something was just have Bill come over and give a speech and pay him a couple of $1 million, and then whatever they needed tomorrow from her, they would have got, or just don't have some oligarchs donate a bunch of money into her foundation, which they were doing while she was Secretary of State, thinking she was going to become president." You know. So I mean, they
Yeah.
they knew if she got elected, but they just wanted to fuck with our election so that whoever became president would have a shadow hanging over their head, maybe a scandal, maybe an investigation, and they'd be so paralyzed they couldn't fuck with him. See, he was concerned with whoever got elected was
Yeah.
going to fuck with him. Well, Trump got elected, but see, Trump is a multitasker. Trump can be handling 10,000 investigations, covering the economy, yelling and screaming at NATO, and also fucking with Vladimir Putin all at the same time. Trump actually sent,
Mm-hmm.
arms to the Ukraine. Sent them anti-air, anti-tank. He's got U.S. planes flying over the U.S. fighter planes flying over the Ukraine right now. Flying over the Ukraine right
Mm-hmm.
now. So I mean,
Yeah.
and their weapons hot. Russians come into that airspace and they get close enough, it's like, you shouldn't be here. And so he already drew the line at the Ukraine. He drew the line with the Baltic states, Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia. He drew that line, and he said, no more land grabs. You're done. So I mean,
Mhm.
that's the last thing Putin expected. And then also, he made NATO pay more money to their own defense. That does not help Putin. That the Europeans have a better army or an air force or a navy. That doesn't help Putin out any.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's got a
Yeah.
deal going on with the Polish people right now with Poland. Poland says we want you to put a base inside of Poland, and the Polish people said we pay for it. We'll pay for the whole fucking thing. We pay to
Yeah.
maintain it. Everything. Just show up. We'll build the whole damn place for you. So
Mhm.
they're actually in talks with Poland right now about putting a U.S. base there. You know, it's kind of a forward base
Mhm.
because it's real close. But then again, when the Russians had East Germany, our base in West Germany were pretty close too. But you know, I mean, we pay the Germans to be there to protect them. The biggest fucking joke in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, the Polish are like, no, you don't pay us
Mhm.
to protect us. We'll pay you to protect us. And we're like, well, that sounds better. Close down the fucking bases in
Yeah.
In Germany and just move them over to fucking Poland and let them pay the bill. They're building. He had
Yeah.
who do you have on the guy from United? Was it UAE or from God? What country? Was it? United Arab Emirates. Who's in? I can't remember who's at the White House just
Oh, the
recently.
United Gulf was it? United was it the United Emirates? Might have been.
I can't remember. I think it was them, but they're building a base for us. And they're paying for it. Okay, that's the way it should be.
Mhm.
They want us to
Yeah.
have a base there, so they're going to pay for the damn thing.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's if we're going to have troops around the world, then wherever those troops are at, that country should be paying for us to be there. Period.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
I think that's what
You know
that's
what else?
what they're doing.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, and the other interesting thing too that Trump has done that's made history is, he was like the first foreign leader to walk the street that connects South Korea and North Korea. And you know what's interesting, when you look at Kim Jong Un when he's looking at Trump, you can tell that Kim Jong Un admires Trump. He respects Trump as a leader. You can just look at it in his eyes and the way he looks at him. That he actually respects Trump as a leader. And and that's good. It's a good thing, because hopefully, Kim Jong will, I haven't really been following what's going on with North Korea lately, but I'm kind of hoping that,
Well,
maybe
they just tested a short range missile. Now, what we asked them not to do, we said don't test fire any long range or intermediate range missiles. So now they're getting ready to do a deal.
mhm,
So Trump understands negotiating.
mhm,
So they fired the short range missile
yeah,
because we told them don't do an intermediate or long range one. So they did a short range one. Okay. So
mhm,
and so Trump's like, look, the guy's posturing. Okay, he's got to come into this meeting with some kind of strength. But that meeting they had, you can see the smile on Kim's face from ear to ear when Trump was approaching him to that line, and then he started walking, and the grin on Kim's face was so pronounced. I mean, he couldn't hide his emotion. And then Trump's like, "Hey," and he asked him, "Hey, can I come over?" And he goes, "Well, I think he said like you'll be like the first president ever." He goes, "Well, let's do it." And he goes, "Well, come on over," because he has to ask for permission. It's his country. Hey, can I come into your country? And man, that was so class. That
yeah,
was so classy what Trump did. Trump stuck his neck out to give this guy a little. He realized, hey, this guy's feeling kind of down. He thinks we're stepping all over him. I'm going to go humble myself to this guy. I'm going to risk getting egg on my face and looking like an idiot to the whole world, and I'm going to go do it. And he did. And Kim was like, "Fuck, this is
yeah,
awesome." And Moon, South Korea said, Trump has brought peace to the peninsula. The mainstream media didn't cover that. That was a quote by South Korean President Moon. He said
yeah,
Trump has brought peace to the
yeah,
peninsula. I mean, so then Kim and Trump will walk back. They're walking back over to that conference center they have over there, right? And there's Moon waiting for him. And then
right,
Moon just comes out and sees Kim and goes, "Hey!" And they're all speaking, they're speaking Korean to each other, right? Because they're both Koreans. And they're like, "Hey!"
yeah,
And he's like, "Hey, hey, good to see you. Oh, this is so cool." Like, yeah, no shit. And then they went in the room,
mhm,
kicked all the press out, and then they just hung up. Like I
mhm,
said, I don't. This is my opinion. I don't care if these two never do any fucking deals ever. All I care about is these two guys hang out and become friends and just goof off with each other. And I don't give a shit if they do like the TMZ Hollywood video, line like, yeah, you can grab them by the vagina kind of shit. I don't give a shit if he just goes over there and
mhm,
just talks about women with this guy and just bullshits with them and becomes friends with the guy. I don't care if they don't do anything else, okay? Because as long as they're like,
yeah,
there's an old saying, in law. A laughing jury is not a hanging jury. Well, these two guys are goofing off with each other. Nobody's blowing each other up. Okay. Now, if we get something done with them,
Yeah.
great. If we get nothing done other than the fact that these two guys get along and have a good time hanging out with each other, fine. So probably the next thing, either Trump's going to go to Pyongyang, whatever you pronounce that, Pyongyang, capital of North Korea, or Kim's going to come over to D.C. And let me tell you, if Kim comes over to D.C., it's going to be
Mm.
red carpet city. It's going to be the big, huge state visit like you've never seen. It's going to be a big state dinner. There's going to be all kinds of shit going on. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. Or Trump goes over to the capital of
Mm.
North Korea. One of those two things is probably going to happen, whether they got a deal going or not. Again, I don't give a shit if they don't work out anything. All I give a shit about is these two guys get along. Now, and the sad part is, and I covered this Wednesday, is that Trump and Putin could have had this same relationship. But but these guys are so
Yeah.
afraid to even like anytime even Trump looked at him at the G20 meeting, or glanced at him or smiled at him, like, oh look, see, oh he's smiling with him, oh they're conspiring, oh they're giving a certain hand signal, they're making phony signals to each other. So
Yeah.
Trump was so fucking paranoid, he couldn't sit down and just hang out with this
Mhm.
guy because these guys are totally alike. They're both nationalists, they're both megalomaniacs. They've got the same kind of personalities. These two guys get along great. And
Mhm.
that would be fantastic. But
Mhm.
no. Meanwhile, though, now Putin's looking for somebody to be friends with. So he goes. Now he's hanging out with China, and they just did that flyover over South Korean airspace. The first time in history, a joint Russian-Chinese military mission where it
Yep.
was like two Russian bombers, two Chinese bombers, and they flew over South Korean airspace. First time in history. They're
Mhm.
doing all kinds of trade deals with each other, and they're doing all kinds of armament sales with each other. And you can thank the Democrats and the mainstream media for putting those two and putting Putin in bed with China, because that never would have happened.
Yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
was
We have
wanting
enough problems with.
right. We have enough problems with China.
Mhm.
We have enough problems with Russia. Now they got the two of them aligned together. And Putin didn't have a choice because
Yeah.
he figured, shit, this guy may end up going down, and the Democrats take over, and then I'm the big boogeyman. Yeah, the big boogeyman. Russia's
Mhm.
economy is like, I think just a little bit larger than the state of Texas's economy. Okay, no,
Mhm.
they're not our problem. They got a bunch of nuclear bombs pointed at us, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about Putin is that he seems to. I mean, I know nothing about their politics or anything, but he seems to allow a capitalist society over there. I mean, let's face it, the guy's practically a dictator, but he seems to be a dictator in a I won't say a good way, but in a strange way, because most dictators implement socialist communist laws, to suppress the people more. But he seems to kind of, as long as people aren't, trying to do this or that, just kind of lets people go on about their business. You know, kind of, people can go to school where they want to if they got the money. People, kind of free to pursue traits. I mean, it's kind of strange that he would allow, capitalist markets like that. I mean, I don't know how the guy thinks or anything like that. But he doesn't, he seems to be loved in Russia. I mean, they seem to really like him there. At least from what I've seen. Again, I don't follow Russian politics, but he seems to be pretty well, highly thought of in Russia. I don't know what's your take on that.
Well, I think Putin's very popular in Russia. I think he's a nationalist. He looks out for his country. He looks out for his country first, and
Mhm.
anytime you have a leader who's a nationalist who's looking out for his country first, then it's easier to negotiate with him because you know exactly where he's coming from. So I think he's popular. I
Yeah.
think I don't know what I be honest with you, I really haven't studied his economy well enough to know what's going on with the economy over there. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, for all I know, it sucks. But then again, it might be like really good. So,
Mhm.
but I mean, I get the impression he's pretty
Yeah.
popular. You know.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I just you know, I just hope. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see what comes of China and Russia. I mean, it's like, we have enough problems with Google and China working together. It's like now we got Russia, Google, and China.
Right.
Oh, it just seems like the cards are stacked against us, Carl. But hey,
No, they're
I
not.
think
They're not.
I think
Not
we can. I
really.
think.
No, look, they're just getting all the press right now. That's all. They're in a
Mm,
primary. We don't have a primary. They do. So I mean, they see the last time only one C, 2004. the Democrats got a lot of press in 2004. We didn't have a primary. 2008, we both had primaries. 2012, we had a primary, but our primary kind of sucked because the people that were running, Romney was, but so I mean, I mean, it's just they're getting a lot of press right now. That's all. Again, these are it's not flash in the pan. It's just they're getting attention. And and again, remember, the mainstream media gives them the attention, but the American public, the American people aren't necessarily following the mainstream media. When 55% of Hispanics say they favor, what was it? They favor a citizenship question on the U.S. Census. Well, obviously, the mainstream media has no idea what that means. Okay. Um, so I mean, they're just out of touch. The general and the American public for 2.5 years now has been told what an awful guy Trump is, and everything else, and it turned out all of it was bullshit, and and all this other talk going on. See, they live in this bubble. So when they're talking to themselves, and you watch these panel shows, and they're all talking to each other, they're all like ha 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 and stuff. Well, the American public isn't on their side. Okay, and it's again, we're always center left or center right. Okay, well the mainstream media is not center left anymore. It's not even close. Okay, so I mean, they think they think they're talking to the American people, and then shit happens where the polling numbers come back, and you get like people like Katie Tur and MSNBC saying, "Why do the American people still support him after all we've said about him, after all we've shown, after all we've done? How can the American people still supporting Trump? Why is his poll numbers going up?" I mean, you think after all these attacks for 2.5 years, they'd be going down. They're going up. I mean, Rasmussen had over 50, but the NBC Wall Street Journal poll, which I covered, had him at 48. NBC Wall Street Journal poll had him going up by 4 percentage points. Their own poll, which they buried, was hilarious. Brian Williams didn't even cover it, and then the next morning is hilarious. Like when they show polls, they'll show like the graph of the poll, the numbers and stuff, or like the percentages. They show it. They give you the visual representation as they're talking about it. They didn't even do that. It was Alex Witt's channel, MSNBC, the next morning, and she just said, "Oh yeah, his poll is at 48%." They didn't even show it on the screen, like so you'd see it. Like if you're walking by your TV, you'd go, "Oh, what's that?" No, she just said it. So they say, "Oh, we covered it." That was their own goddamn poll. They wouldn't even cover their own poll because their poll, they were expecting their poll to show him going down like to 39 from 44. Well, he went up from 44 to 48. And so, of course, in their own poll, they didn't cover their own goddamn. Brian Williams had it the night before, and he didn't even cover the damn story once. I mean, it was hilarious. So I mean, so it shows you just they're. So you hear all this shit. They get a lot of attention, but they're out of touch with. What was the poll that came out on Cortez? It was Axios. That's a left-wing polling organization, and they did it was supposed to be like an internal poll, but somebody leaked it. Anyway, they did this internal polling in the swing in the swing states to see what swing voters were thinking. So they targeted swing voters in swing districts. And so like for Ocasio-Cortez, 74% of the people polled had heard about her. Only 22% of the people had a positive thing to say about her. Ilhan Omar, 54% of the people polled knew about her. Only 9% had something positive to say about her. Okay, so yeah, so when people see like that guy who yelled at me that night, "Oh, you got to get in her ass," it's like, nah, I really don't. She's gonna get in her own ass. The Green New Deal. I mean, the guy who sponsored it, Markey from Massachusetts, sponsors it with Ocasio-Cortez. Ocasio-Cortez sponsored in the House. He sponsored the resolution in the Senate. Okay, and then McConnell, being the dick that he is, he goes, "Okay, I'm going to put it on the floor for a vote." They go, "Well, no, we don't want that." He goes, "Wait, you always complain that I don't put your bills on the floor for a vote. I'm going to put this one on the floor. No amendments, no committee hearing. I'm going to put it right on the floor." Okay, all the Democrats, now one Democrat, including Markey, who sponsored the bill, who signed his name to it in the Senate, who filed it in the Senate, even he voted only present. He didn't even vote in favor of it himself. So yeah, they can say all this shit. They get the press. They get the headlines. Okay, but the American people, when you look at those poll numbers from swing states, battleground states, showing that 22% have a positive opinion of Ocasio-Cortez and only 9% have a positive opinion of Ilhan Omar. Okay, yeah, that's nothing. Okay, nothing. So, but anyway, let me let you go, and I'm probably going to be getting ready to wind this up here. Been on for about 3 hours.
Okay.
So anyway, Mr. Dirtbag.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. I always lose track of time myself. I always lose track of time when I do these shows myself. But okay, Mr. Dirtbag, thanks for the call, and I'll definitely catch you next time.
Oh yeah, definitely. And have a good week, Carl.
All right, you too. All right, bye-bye.
Take care. All right, bye.
All right, that was the great dirtbag with an excellent phone call as usual. And let's see, get this off here. Where is it? If I can find it. Oh, there it is. Bump. Yay. All right, so anyway, yeah, it's about 1 o'clock my time. Been on for just shy of 3 hours. And so, the present. Hey, there you go. But anyway, so anyway, been on for about 3 hours. I want to thank the great dirtbag for an excellent phone call, excellent conversation as always, always. And that's what you can expect on Carl's Opinion YouTube channel. And great dirtbag. Don't forget, if you want to get that free Carl's Opinion YouTube channel Trump 2020 hat, email me your address and I will mail it out to you. I will take care of all the shipping and the handling. So yeah, so if you want to get the free Carl's Opinion YouTube channel hat, Trump 2020, email me your mailing address. I'll mail it out for you, and I'll get it out to you this week, this Monday. So there you go. But anyway, so everybody have a great night. And for Carl's Opinion, this is Carl. Thanks again for everybody who's been in the chat, and thanks for all the people watching and all the people who'll be watching later. So we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.